very good morning to you, by the way. Morning, Tory, with me, Mike Graham.
Just some breaking news for you coming out of Liverpool Crown Court.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the programme. Welcome to the home of common sense.
Loads to talk about. I promise you that. Loads and loads and loads.
Yes, it's me again, your genial host, Kevin O'Sullivan.
How realistic do you think a ceasefire is this week?
There's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement, an agreement of some kind.
We basically have two countries.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, my friends, a very good morning. What is it? Honest to God, it's very early. It's Tuesday, the 21st of October. It's JK for MG. Don't panic if you're waking up. The main man just having today away. But we are here for the next 4 hours, and my God, what a show lined up for you. I said it already to the gang. We were sat doing Drive yesterday, and everything just came in on us. We have a Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen. Let's pray a moment's silence for Sir Keir Starmer. Sir Keir never here. He announced yesterday he's off to COP30. Yes, that's the net zero conference they've torn down half of the Amazon rainforest for. They've dug great trenches of road and thrown trees aside, and thousands of would-be people are going to fly in with gas-guzzling jets and go, oh, let's do something about the planet. Now, I suspect that Keir Starmer would prefer to go abroad than be here. Patently, there's enough going on here to terrify him. Yesterday, it transpired that the grooming gang's inquiry, 2 victims have already said, we're having nothing to do with that because we think it's going to be a bleeding cover-up. Will you deal with that, Starmer? Oh, no, you're off to Brazil. Yesterday, that heinous human being, Sir Sadiq Khan, might even have to eat humble pie and go, actually, there are grooming gangs in London. The Met Police have admitted it. And what's Khan doing about it? Absolutely nothing. What's Starmer doing about it? He's off to Brazil, absolutely. Yesterday, in the middle of drive time, Graham Linehan, you remember the creator of Father Ted? He was arrested by 5 men with guns. Can you say men? They were men. It's not me being sexist. Heathrow Airport in September, apparently something he'd said about, misgender. I don't even understand. I'm old-fashioned. And he got arrested. Anyway, that was thrown out yesterday. And swiftly on the back of that, the Met Police went, yes, we think it would be, I don't know, I've done the voice. We think it'd be a great idea to scrap non-crime hate investigations. Do you indeed, Sir Mark Rowley? That's taken you a while. And where's our Prime Minister? Is he dealing with that? No. He's off to Brazil. It gets worse every single day. This man is never here. Have you got that video? Right? On the day that our Prime Minister should be dealing with the Met Police, with free speech, with Israeli football fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv can't get a ticket, on the day that, I don't know, there's a grooming gang inquiry and the whole place is going to poo. This is Keir Starmer online. Have a watch. I don't know about you. Let me know what you think. I just think Keir Starmer needs to be in this country and dealing with the rubbish that's going on. 0344 499 1000. Damien, who is not the son of the devil. He doesn't have 666 printed on his head. He is the main man, and he's taking your calls this morning. 0344 499 1000. We like voice notes because, frankly, when we get a voice note, it means I don't have to speak for 30 seconds. Do that via WhatsApp if that's how it works. 0344 499 1000. And your text messages are always welcome. Again, it gives me time to work out what's coming next. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. JK for 4 hours only, you lucky people. We say a very good morning for the paper review to a man who's, well, not very happy today because QPR are as crap as West Ham. Peter Bletchley, good morning.
I don't think we're quite that bad, but we did suffer a defeat at home to Millwall on Saturday, which was very saddening.
Yeah, well, if you'd watched West Ham Brentford last night, it was more than saddening. Welcome, my friends. So much to cram in today. I mean, loads to cram in today. Keep those calls coming. Pete, good morning. Let's start, right? In the middle of drive time, it comes out that this grooming gang inquiry, front of the Telegraph, page 1, grooming inquiry sabotaged by Labour. Starmer told to scrap pans and start again after 2 victims quit. Ready for this?
Oh, yes.
Saying they were silenced, man. We haven't even started with this.
Oh, yes. Now, let's just rewind a little bit, if we may, to around about the turn of the century, this century, 2000 or thereabouts, OK? When noises were being made about how young predominantly white British children were being raped, kidnapped, plied with alcohol, drugs and the such like, repeatedly in a number of locations, predominantly across the north of England at the time, and yet their voices were not being heard. Then we move on a few years to really one of the ongoing heroes of the story, Maggie Oliver.
Legend.
When she resigned from Greater Manchester Police because they were turning a blind eye to exactly the kind of crimes that I just detailed. And so it goes. And the pressure is built, the pressure built and built and built upon this appalling government until finally, when boxed into a corner, they announced that there would be an inquiry. This is after revolting people within the Labour Party and the government had accused people of dog whistling about this story. Remember Lucy Powell?
About to be the Deputy Prime Minister, I think. Actually Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, I should say.
That odious creature who on a Radio 4 programme accused Tim Montgomery of dog whistling because he raised this crucially important story. And it has grown, in fact, it has ballooned now to be a deep, deep, dark stain on the history of this once great nation.
I agree.
And not only is it a stain because these crimes happened, what is even more shameful is that those in authority, social workers, senior people in local councils, and of course police officers whose job it is to investigate such odious crimes, so many of them look the other way.
And I have to say,
to see here.
Just grabbing what you said about turning a blind eye, and I would never, I think people would know it on this show, I would never ever defend Starmer. This isn't just this government. This goes back, you said, to the turn of the century. I believe that this is one of the biggest covers-up and one of the biggest miscarriages of justice, along with the post office debacle, that this country has ever seen. And I really struggle as a father, and I'm being completely honest here, I struggle as a father to think that the institutions you just talked about, whether they're social workers, local councillors, police, NHS workers. We can talk about prime ministers and cabinet ministers, but a huge number of people have turned a blind eye to young girls being sexually assaulted and raped. Now, of course, Rotherham, everybody knew that story. The Rotherham police, Pete, said at the time, well, we wanted to tread carefully in our investigation because we didn't want to stir up, you know, racial tension. I'll say it now, I've said it on every show I've ever done on this station. I do not care the colour of your skin, I don't care your religion, I don't care where you come from. I'm a father of 6, and if you think it's acceptable in the society I live in to do that, you have no place in my society, whoever you are. And I find it abhorrent that institutions, the police and whoever have turned a blind eye to this. It goes further though, doesn't it? Page 2 of The Sun today, Sadiq Khan, the man who spends his time pontificating, okay, pontificating about, you know, we need to make this city, you know, it needs to be better organised, diversity, exclusivity. Forget the fact there's a knife crime epidemic. London Mayor has been accused of turning a blind eye to evidence of grooming in our very own capital city. So whilst he's pontificating about all the things that matter, like net zero and we shouldn't be disrespectful to people, kids are being raped in London, and the Met Police yesterday admitting a large number of probes have been going on quietly. Pete, this is a disgrace, man.
As recently as June, the odious Sir Sadiq Khan said that there was no indication that grooming gangs were operating.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's play it. This
in London.
The excellent Susan Hall, the Tory member of the London Assembly, who continually tries to hold a smoking gun to his head, and he never answers. This is her quizzing Sadiq Khan on the grooming gangs in London. Have a watch.
I asked you this question last week, and you found every which way but not to answer it. Just how many grooming gangs have we got in London?
To avoid any misunderstanding, can she define what she means by that?
Yes, if you look at what's gone on in Rotherham, where there are people taking young girls, grooming them for sex, that is what I'm talking about.
We know in London there are issues about exploitation of young people, but they're not as defined by the member in her definition of what those types of gangs are.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just for
Are you
what's a
saying that?
misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by that. These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex. Do we actually have those in London?
I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If you could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening? It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
It's unbelievable, Pete. That man's a disgrace.
He is vile,
Dreadful.
repugnant, revolting.
Hides behind just a point of order to not even answer her question. I would love the parents of abuse victims to be able to talk to Sadiq Khan. No priorities that are right in that man. Appalling.
And what is going to happen, and I have really to give praise where it's due here to the Express newspaper, who have actually done some terrific work in seeking out survivors, seeking out cases, and doing a wonderful interview with the marvellous Maggie Oliver. And what their collective work has done is forced the Metropolitan Police, who again, like Khan, have said, nothing to see here, move along. They have now forced the Metropolitan Police into a huge U-turn by, for the first time, admitting there are a very significant number of investigations into grooming gangs, right? So that's a good thing that they finally admitted it. Shame on them for not doing it in the past. But here's another odious factor that I have to mention. Yesterday, the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, which is Sir Mark Rowley, he said to the London Assembly, if we were to do a full investigative review and re-investigations of them all, that is going to be many, many millions of pounds.
Of them all?
Millions of pounds a year for several years. I don't care, Rowley. I really don't care.
Neither do I. What about priorities?
I care about victims. I don't care what the cost is. I don't care how many man and women hours it takes. These crimes need to be properly and professionally investigated.
And to give you an idea of how lacking in confidence, right, the public, A&1, but the victims are, yesterday, 2 victims have already said, we're having nothing to do with this inquiry, we don't trust this inquiry, we think it's a cover-up. And what's our good old Prime Minister doing? He's off to Brazil. I genuinely, and I'm not, it's only 6:15 in the morning, so I don't want to implode, we've a way to go, right? I don't understand how this is acceptable. I'm becoming embarrassed by this country that I call my home. How in the name of God, as a father, and other fathers and mothers, I'd love to hear from you this morning, 0344 499 1000. You sit there and you listen to this and you go, so that could be your child. And our Prime Minister and the Mayor of London and various institutions are just turning a blind eye, just saying, we can't do anything about it. For the police to say that'll cost millions... How much are we going to spend on trying to apparently achieve a figure of net zero that's completely bloody ridiculous? Explain that to me. It's ludicrous.
Or as I would say, what price justice?
Absolutely.
Who cares how much it costs?
0344 499 1000. Voice notes always welcome. That's that, as if that isn't bad enough. In the middle of drive time yesterday, that I used to say lovely man. I mean, a very talented man, the creator of Father Ted, Graham Linehan. You'll know the story. He's in Arizona. He comes back to England in September, lands at Heathrow to 5 armed police. Am I allowed to say men? Police people. They arrest him for, and you'll have to help me out with this, he's got a view on gender politics, he's got on the other side of the trans argument, blah, blah. I'm not even going there. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, you know? I don't care in life, do what you want, but if my teenage daughter's in a changing room and a man takes her dress off and has a penis, I would be, as a father, slightly concerned. If that makes me an outrage, it isn't, it's just me being completely honest. He dares to have an opinion which apparently doesn't go with how other people see it. He's absolutely trolled and destroyed and his career's finished and his wife leaves him and he loses his money and all that, then he gets arrested. Yesterday, the Met Police, the Crown Prosecution Service, quietly saying, it's OK, we're not going to do that anymore, and you're free to go. On top of which, the Met Police announced, out of the blue, we're scrapping non-crime hate investigations. Very quickly, this was Telegraph, page 1, on the back of Linehan. Who the hell is running the Met Police?
I want to point out that I believe women should have female-only spaces I think it's really important. I want to protect women's rights.
But this is what I
Sharon
don't-
Davis, J.K. Rowling are heroes.
But this is what I don't get, and I'll have the conversation, and people will no doubt get upset. Here's the thing, right? If all those women who quite rightly over the years have argued strongly for women's rights, where the hell are they when a girl or a young lady wants to change in a changing room, as a man does in a man's changing room, and a bloke in a dress with a penis is in front of them? I want to know why those women who have spent all that time arguing the toss, quite rightly, for the things you and I believe in, right? Where are they? Oh, no, we're not talking about that. Well, you should damn well talk about that. It doesn't mean you're anti somebody. It says you're trying to agree and do right. But what about women's safety? Got out the window, not bothered. Madness.
Absolutely.
Madness.
And of course, as a result of Graham Linehan's completely unnecessary and quite possibly unlawful arrest, the Met announced, as you say, yesterday, they will not investigate non-crime hate incidents.
What is? Can you explain that to me? What is a
hello.
non-crime hate investigation?
I'll give you an example of an incident that was classified as a non-crime hate incident. Somebody hung a pair of soiled underpants on their washing line, which was perceived...
Why did they take my pants and put them on their washing line? This is
Yes,
outrage.
thank you. Moving swiftly on, the
Yes.
neighbour regarded this as offensive and they felt it was a crime, and the police recorded that accordingly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
They were soiled underpants.
Yes, they
Why
weren't.
didn't you wash them before you hung them on the line?
Well, that would be a common sense approach to have a chat with the neighbour, wouldn't it? But the
What's
police...
the neighbour got to do with a pair of soiled underpants?
But they regarded it as a slight
Live
upon
further
them.
away from your neighbours like me and you don't see them. Much better.
They were offended by it. But anyway, that is just one example
Yes.
of some of the lunacy that's been recorded. Now, so it's good that the police have finally listened. I've been on this station for years saying if it's a non-crime, it's not a matter for the police.
Yeah.
Right? I couldn't be clearer on that.
They go and sort out a burglary or a rape or something.
It's blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
It's taken the police up until yesterday to wake up, swallow a dose of common sense and say we're not going to do it. But a word of caution here, please, if I may.
Yes.
The Met have said that such incidents would still be recorded and used as intelligence to establish potential patterns of behaviour or criminality.
Let me ask you this as an ex-copper, right? So I've got a shop. Tow rags keep coming in and nicking stuff. I can't phone the police because even if I do, they don't come round because it's less than 200 quid. I'm an old person who's paid my stamp all my life. My house gets burgled. The police don't come. I have a car accident. The police don't come. But apparently if I say to you, oh, I think you're a bit of a white-haired old git, you go, oh, you've traumatised me, and the police arrive. Are the police, the Sadiq Khans, the Keir Starmers, all do they think that we're idiots? Because one of the things that I'm convinced, Pete, is the silent majority have woken up. This is not what the police were supposed to do. And how the hell has it got to this point? People tell me about, oh, the wokeness of the world and cutbacks mean... What happened to the policeman and woman whose job was to deal with crime?
The police and many other of our institutions have quite frankly been captured by the very vocal claims, complaints and causes of various minorities, and they have pandered to them. And this is why we have had the police looking the other way on child exploitation
Looking the other
gangs,
way, man.
right? We've had it because of cultural sensitivities and other such cowardly phrases.
Sorry, I know I'm going to implode. How can there be a cultural... What did you call it?
Sensitivities.
A cultural sensitivity to the fact that an 8-year-old girl was raped. What is wrong? Where has common sense gone?
Well, I think bit by bit, slowly, very, very slowly, it is beginning to creep back into the public discourse.
Yeah.
This station, of course, is a world leader in espousing
Well said, a
common
world
sense.
leader, yes.
But now, let's just take yesterday's announcement from the Met as a very, very tiny victory. But beware, you see, they're still going to record them to establish patterns of behaviour. Now, why are you going to do that? Because, of course, they became very autocratic during COVID. There is a hangover of that.
Oh, don't get me on that. We got Whitty this morning. He's starting on.
I think they enjoyed that power, that unquestioned power that was suddenly bestowed upon them. And we have a huge, huge issue here in turning the police and so many of our public services, whether it be their education, the health service, the HMRC and so on and so forth, to turn this entire body of public institutions away from that nonsense, which has driven their thinking for decades now, and bring them back towards a common sense approach that serves all equally.
Couldn't agree more. 6:22. We're live across the UK. JK on Breakfast for MG today. What do you make of this then? The grooming gang inquiry they're turning a blind eye to. Apparently 2 victims have already walked away from it. Hasn't even been started yet because they say it's going to be a cover-up. Apparently Sadiq Khan has also been turning a blind eye. He says it wasn't happening and I don't understand the question. We know it's an absolute fix. Where's our Prime Minister? Where's our Prime Minister with that? What's it called? Non-crime hate investigations. Graham Linehan yesterday getting off with it. I'll tell you where Starmer is. He's in his little office with his mobile camera going, oh, I'm going to go to Brazil for COP30. That's after the break. Listen, there he is. Look. Oh, it's a camera. How exciting, you total... Back in 3.
I was approached by a production company that make documentaries, and they were horrified and outraged by my claims. And they said, you know, is this really going on? So I said, well, come with me and let's prove it.
Yeah.
We went out on the streets of London. We went to rough areas, which were what they call known red light areas. So the police know about these areas. Within 90 minutes, we found a girl there. She'd been on the street from the age of 14. She was actually being sort of exploited, pimped out by her mother.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you go. Too quick, no change there. 6:25. Welcome back. Tuesday morning. JK for MG. Breakfast is on till 10. It's all going on today, by the way. 0344 499 1000. Starmer's off to COP30. We'll talk about that. The grooming gangs inquiry. That's in the toilet already. The Met Police have gone, oh, maybe we should deal with proper crime instead of people who hang up dirty underwear. What was that story again, Bletchley?
Yes, a neighbour hung some dirty, soiled laundry underpants on their line. The neighbour complained about it. The police attended.
What a load of old... Oh, there we go. Voice note, the grooming gangs has got you lot already. Patrick, good morning.
Hey, Jezza, Patrick. The problem with this inquiry is that you've got to find a judge with the nads to say what it includes. And we don't exclude anybody. If you get called up to give evidence, you go and give evidence. If you don't give evidence, then you're prosecuted. And if you still refuse, then you go to prison. It's got to be a full and open inquiry.
He's right, isn't he? Sean in Gloucester, good morning every bloody day. Keith Starlin infuriates the life out of me. This man gets everything wrong. Keith, just do one decent thing, me old son, and call an election. We don't like you and we don't want you. Good morning to... I don't know. Morning, JK and Peter. The rape gang inquiry is far too big for a UK head to be appointed. It needs an external chair, and there also need to be public trials and sentencing of those found guilty of the cover-ups, irrespective of their current position. Only then will the nation feel that justice has been served. Mark in Croydon. Good morning, pal. Jez, I almost expect politicians and council workers to ignore these gangs for self-preservation purposes, but the police will always slightly surprise me, as I used to believe that they were there to protect victims, but now are more political to me, it seems, than anybody else in the country. How can, please ask Blexley, how can the police ignore these victims but chase down a tweet? It's madness.
Complete madness. One of the great honours of being sat in this chair on a Tuesday morning is to listen to the views and the questions that the audience put forward. John, for example, the language they call it, John, is the terms of reference. I completely agree. The terms of reference need to be clear, need to be distinct so everybody can understand them. The inquiry also needs to be a full public inquiry led by a judge, so we would then have the power to summons people to come and give evidence. But please, just let me use these two names, Fiona Goddard and Ellie Reynolds, because they're the two former victims of child sexual grooming and abuse, and they're the two that have walked away because, and they've said, the officials wanted to downplay the ethnicity and the religious background of the perpetrators, right? Which rewinds to why they didn't investigate it in the first place.
And can I just say, for anybody who thinks, well, you can't say that, I repeat what I said 21 minutes ago because it's etched on my brain. As a father, tell me I'm wrong. Phone me up, text me, do whatever you want, right? Am I wrong to say that I expect my kids to be able to live in a safe country where they're not pieces of meat that can be sexually assaulted by men? I don't care where those men come from. I don't care what their religion is. I don't care the colour of their skin. As a father, it's abhorrent. Listen to this. I think, Phil... Jez and Pete, Phil in Coventry, regarding the Met saying it'll cost millions to investigate the London rape gangs. They seem to have absolutely no issue spending millions every single day putting up illegal migrants. You know, the Mayor, we saw a video earlier of Susan Hall, that excellent Tory member of the London Assembly, taking on Sadiq Khan and going, are there grooming gangs? And you go, I don't understand the lady's question. Completely stonewalling it. So then she thought she'd ask, that this is brilliant, Deputy Mayor for Policing, Kaya Schwartz, is that right? This is the Deputy Mayor for Policing in London, and Susan Hall's having another go. Have a watch, have a listen.
Are there rape gangs in London? You're the Deputy Mayor for Policing. The Mayor won't answer.
As
It's a yes or
said,
no.
I will happily answer the question. That we do want to prioritise and make sure there's high levels of forensic support and evidence gathering on sexual abuse of all kinds,
Do you know
especially
how bad
children.
this looks? Do you understand how bad
Member
this
Hall,
looks
would you
for
like
Labour?
me to...
You've asked the question.
I've asked the question and I haven't got an answer yet again.
If you'd let me
disgraceful.
answer,
Sorry, that's the Deputy Mayor. Is that the Deputy Mayor of London? Christ, I've got a hope and
Deputy
chance.
Mayor for Policing, and dare I suggest...
It's about 11.
I don't think she's a towering intellect. I really don't. And the real scandal is to think, you know what? I could have applied for that job. I wouldn't have got it, of course, because they think I'm dangerous. Listen to that woman in that role. No wonder. And they're supposed to be holding the police, the Metropolitan Police, to account. It's absolutely...
You are so wound up about this. We'll take some calls. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. The gangs inquiry. If you remember with Labour, they went, we're not going to have a national one, we're going to have a local one. Then they went, oh, we better have a national one. Now... on this Tuesday morning, we can tell you exclusively that two of the victims who were part of it have already said we're not having anything to do with it because it's a cover-up. Keir Starmer, nothing. Let's talk about him, shall we? Yeah, brilliant. Right, never here, Keir. He sent out a really weird tweet yesterday. I must read this out. It makes no sense to man nor beast, right? Keir Starmer said, national renewal isn't just moving money around. It's about completely rewiring the state and the economy. It's about unlocking the potential of everyone. It's about rebuilding our public service. That is the purpose of my government. Right, so if the purpose of your government is to basically make this country better, when you've got this grooming gangs inquiry, which is beginning to look like a cover-up, when you've got the worst set of financial figures for years, and we're now, I mean, you know, we've got inflation, everything's wrong with this country. You've got a budget coming up that's patently going to tax anybody that's done anything aspirational. You've got, there's a whole raft of problems in this country. There's anti-Semitism, there's marches and everything. What are you going to do about it? I'm going to Brazil. COP30. I thought somebody said someone else. COP30 is in Brazil. Do you know about this?
At the Copacabana.
The hardest spot north of Havana. At the Copa. It's Barry Manilow. Barry Manilow at 6:32. Peter,
we need to apologise to Mr. Manilow for what we just did.
Well,
there.
I'm not apologising. Can I just say that I'm thinking on that we could have a new pop group, Jerry and the Atrics. There you go.
So that's where he's headed.
Or you might need to dump this, but it is quite funny. What about if four of us set up a pop group? One Erection, we could call it, couldn't we? I'm joking. Of course I am, ladies and gentlemen. COP30. I don't know if you've seen this, but they have spent months digging rainforest. I mean, digging trees. You think about what that's all about. Billions of pounds, apparently, we're going to save the planet. And they're all going to fly in on their gas-guzzling jets. You try saying that at 6:32 in the morning. He's going to go probably separately from Miliband. Patently, love your take on this. The only reason he's going is because he's gone, right, well, I've probably lost all the votes to reform and I can't get them back. So now I'm slightly worried by Jack... Is it
Polanski?
The man who makes women's
Zach
breasts.
Polanski.
Yeah, the man who used to be a hypnotist. I can make your breasts grow. I bet you can. Anyway, he's the one with crap teeth who's in charge of the Greens. And also the Fruit and Nut Party, Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana. And presumably Starmer's going... They're on the left, they're going to be talking about green issues and a lot of people in my party, so I better go. What about what's going on in this country for everyday working people, Keir?
So there you go.
Never here.
There's his pathetic motivation for it, to go out to COP and show what a green-spirited person he is to try and rescue some of those votes away from the Green Party. But, of course, the Green Party used to be concerned about environmental matters. I remember when they used to bang on about recycling and getting an electric car and all of that. But now they've morphed into this lunatic, pseudo-communist kind of... They're just bonkers. They're absolutely stark raving
And for
mad.
anybody who thinks that voting for the Green Party, and I'm allowed, this is my personal opinion, this is a 60-year-old man, is about the, you know, hugging trees, the friends of the earth, you know, all those people. It's not. It's about charging about 80% tax on anybody who's made any... And it's not, by the way, it's all about billionaires. No, it's not. Anybody that's achieved anything, been promoted, got a few quid, you're absolutely screwed. He's quite dangerous. And he's seen a surge, and that might well happen. And Ed Davey, they're all mad, and they're all off to COP. And Mike always says, and Mike is so spot on with this, God rest him. God rest him, I remember that, God bless him. The truth is, right, Mike Graham said months ago, what happens if we ever get there? What if we get to net zero? Well done, you've got yourself a medal. It's all gone brilliantly. But it's made no difference to the world, save we're more skint than before.
Zach Polanski makes Jeremy Corbyn look like Margaret Thatcher, right?
There's a thought.
He is that lunatic left. He's off the spectrum.
I think instead of hypnotising women, he should have hypnotised his dentist, to be honest, but I could be missing the bleeding point.
I mean, I went to see him to see if he could reduce my man boobs, but he manifestly couldn't do that. Well, moving swiftly on.
Have you got man boobs? Well, we can talk about it.
No, moving swiftly on.
Oh, it's quite sad. It's a man boob Blexley.
It's just, they're mad. The Greens have gone stark raving bonkers.
Yeah.
And yet they're dragging votes away, Starmer thinks, from the Labour Party. So he goes to Brazil. And what will be the carbon footprint?
I don't even know what that means, Pete.
Well,
Can you help me out? What is a carbon footprint?
I think it's the amount of carbon that is created by the emissions on the aeroplanes, the food they'd eat, the cars they'll drive in, the heating of the hotels they might stay in, and all of that kind of thing. People
so do that in the middle of the Amazon rainforest.
People earn a living out of calculating these things. They really do.
Why are you doing your hands like that?
Because it's getting bigger.
Is it?
Because it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well done. Congratulations.
So calculating the carbon footprint of COP and then go, right, and this is supposed to be about the environment. What a hypocritical
Do you know what? Do you know these things, this COP stuff, that reminds me very much of the European Union when they were all in Brussels with their noses in the trough, all with loads of money and huge expense accounts. I look at Miliband and I'm being completely... I have this argument with my 22-year-old who thinks I'm turning into the devil incarnate, and she says, but don't you care about the planet? No, yeah, I do, yeah, but I honestly, I think, of course, we would all go, we're concerned about the planet, but I think it's about priorities. And I think that if you've got an NHS on its backside, if you've got no control of your borders, if you spend so little on defence, if your policemen and women, there aren't enough of them to actually be on the streets to get intel to arrest people, if your country is suffering as it is, I would have respectfully thought, as we can't even afford the interest on the debts we've got, your priorities might be different. Bear in mind, while we're trying to save the bleeding planet, right? China and Russia don't give a rat's, not in any which way at all. And so it's sort of, to me, it's really, really misplaced virtue signalling. It's absolutely. And just while we bring it on, it doesn't get any better for Starmer. Have you seen this? I mean, what else could go? Where's my paper gone? Where's the current? PM's migrant return. See, that's not going very well. I don't know if you know this, but since he became Prime Minister, we've had 60,000 in.
Yes.
This deal with France. One in, one out.
Yes.
Well, it's not gone very well. We've managed... 42 have gone.
Yes.
42 have gone, not 82. I got that wrong yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's 60,000 in and 42 out. What's the balance there? 59,958. It's not looking great. What are you looking at your calculator for?
Because on Saturday, just gone...
Yeah, Millwall beat QPR.
Seven dinghies came to the UK, carrying 369 illegal immigrants on board. You see, which just gives you some kind of indicator as to how appalling this is all going. And a mate of mine called John Austin, who's a journo, he's released an article on his website
My mate
today.
Johnny Austin, who's a journo.
He's released an article today about how the new department that the government set up to try and prevent this immigration has actually, with the Border Force, been patrolling Devon and Cornwall, because they're very concerned about people coming in down there, that these boats are shifting their focus away somewhat from the channel, because we know all about it, and they're trying to smuggle people in through Devon and Cornwall.
I could stop it in a heartbeat.
Right, and they arrested, let me just pull these figures up, because I believe this is an important piece of journalism. They questioned 5,500 people, 68 were arrested, 51 for immigration officers, offences, 34 were refused entry, 36 false documents seized, 1,204 vehicles, vessels and flights were stopped and searched. So they're very much aware that people are coming in through these routes. While we're all looking at dinghies and Dover, there's people coming in through other means.
And what's our Prime Minister doing? He faces fresh migration woes. Page 10 of the Sun today. As a long-awaited Rwanda-style deal is still out of reach. Talks with the Balkan nations to host return hubs was unlikely to end in a deal by the time the PM meets its leaders tomorrow. This is what Shabana Mahmood started talking about. Can I put this to the public? Please do let me know if I have lost the plot on a Tuesday morning. 0344 499 1000. So you basically got an island, right, Pete?
Yep.
And however upsetting this might sound to certain people, we're really struggling as a country to do basic things, and it makes no sense to have people here that we can't vet because they might be dangerous criminals, to either commit crime and overcrowd our prisons or come here and sign on or take advantage of a society that's already crumbling. But apparently the problem is we can't stop them coming, and we're worried about what that's going to look like.
Well, of course.
Put the Navy in the channel, right? Turn 3 boats round, get the biggest liner you can find, recondition it, have it off the coast. Nobody sets foot in this country. They are processed by a crack team. It can't take long to train people to do it correctly. He's 47, he's not a child, he's got a beard. What's wrong with you people? Just do the job and then I'll tell you how to stop it in a heartbeat. Build a detention centre that isn't a Butlins holiday camp. Make it as a detention centre should be, because I guarantee you the word would get back pretty bloody quickly that the English, the British, whatever we're allowed to be called, are not a soft touch, because we are a soft touch. What is wrong with these people?
I'd like the detention centre to be smothered in razor wire, of course, and patrolled by snarling Alsatians.
Oh, you horrible man!
And without wishing to offend my many friends north of the border in the wonderful Scotland, they've got some remote islands up there.
Orkneys.
They've got some islands up there.
Yep.
And they might appreciate a bit of employment opportunities.
And a few midges as well.
Yep, and they can whack them all up there.
I don't know how you said that. After the break, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk... Andrew. Why did I do that? Prince Andrew hasn't paid rent since 2003. Spoken to my mother. The King says, I ghastly social media. I hate it. Dreadful. We'll also talk Chris Whitty. He's not very. Apparently, he says lockdown didn't help. You were behind it, you... Anyway, and also half of Gen Z are staying sober. My missus, bless her Vic, a couple of weeks ago, with her best mate Becky, went to Dublin. Hasn't had a weekend away for ages, bless her. I was at home with the kids, called the mother-in-law, sorted it out. No, but she didn't know that. She will do now. Anyway, she took my 2 daughters. I don't want to give too much away. Vic's texted me midnight going, they've got home to bed. Bex and I are like off our heads. What's going on here? Yeah. Gen Z, you're boring. You don't drink enough. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. If you're waking up, it's 7:15. JK for MG. Don't fret, he'll be back. I'm here, though, you lucky or unlucky people. Loads going on, by the way. Peter Blexley, the legend that is Blexley, is here. We've talked about the grooming gang inquiry being sabotaged by a government who's more interested in going to COP30. We've talked about Sadiq Khan, who turns a blind eye to anything and is going to be found out. We've talked about the Met Police, who have decided to scrap non-crime hate investigations on the back of Graham Linehan, that poor man being arrested, and then that was thrown out yesterday. Let's talk about Prince Andrew. I said this yesterday, and I had a very serious response from Matt Wilkinson from The Sun, who said, I said, why does he just go? And he went, where? Where? What do you do with Prince Andrew? I'll tell you what's going to happen, by the way, and you'll laugh at me. You wait for her to turn on him and sell a tell-all book, Fergie. You wait when the money runs out. You watch. He's finished, man. Finished.
Right. Prince Andrew is the same age as me.
Is he?
I'm a couple of months older than him.
You look much older than him.
Yeah, well, I've had a harder life, haven't I? I've not had a life of privilege.
I've fed you that line.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I get my old age pension in December this year.
How old are you?
I will be 66.
I thought you were 67 you were supposed to have it.
No, I qualify for it at 66.
Do you know how much you get?
Yes.
What?
Just under 12 grand a year.
Do you?
Yeah.
What am I going to do with that then?
Well, I've paid my stamp, and I. I've
Private
paid him.
stamp, Governor.
I paid my stamp for a very long time, over 50 years. So Prince Andrew's, so my birthday's the 11th of December 1959. Prince Andrew's birthday is the 19th of February 1960.
Right.
So he's just a couple of months behind me. Now the rules change a little bit, so he might not get his pension on his birthday, might get a couple
Will
of
he
months
get a pension? Do
later.
royals get pension?
If he's paid his stamp, he will. So by about April,
Yeah.
he should get that 12 grand a year.
Yep.
And he's also got 20 grand a year from his
Navy pension. Yeah. Join the army, be a man. Join the Navy, feel a man. My dad used to say. What?
32 grand a year before he gets out of bed.
That'll pay for the gardeners. Yeah.
So I think get him a 3-bed semi, you know, and a decent family run around or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, the equivalent of a Ford Cortina or whatever it is.
You're so old. You're older than me. A Ford Cortina. Brilliant.
Right. So he's got a decent motor on the drive. He's got a 3-bed semi. I tell you what, buy a 3-bed semi that could be extended, so he could have a project, couldn't he? He could project manage, looking after overseeing the building.
You think I fancy a playroom? Oh
And all
no,
that
Christ,
sort
that
of
was the
stuff.
wrong thing to say, wasn't it?
Dreadful. Right.
Can I just say, I've just renovated a house because I've got more kids than Boris Johnson. We've built an extension that's a playroom. Can I just make that point?
So we'd have a project, something to get up and do every day and all that kind of thing, and then just farm him off to it. It's like, end of story.
On a serious note, somebody said to me...
I'm being serious.
Well, it doesn't work for me. Somebody said he'll end up in the Gulf states, that he's got rich backers and rich friends. But the fact of the matter is, to me, there's a bigger issue. And people who listen to this station will know I'm a royalist. The old man worked for the Queen Mother. I was brought up as a royalist. I fear that this royal family is creaking, and too much more of this stuff, and the Republicans are going to have a moment here. The King has cancer, we know. I wait with bated breath to see what happens there. I believe that William will save the monarchy. I hope he and Catherine. But you look at Harry and Meghan, and you look at them. I mean, this guy, he's a slime ball, and I'm just being completely honest. And people are starting to say, let's be straight. They're going, yeah, but you've got to understand his mental health is being affected. Yeah, it wasn't when he was flying to Epstein's Island, was it, to be fair? But they are money grabbers, he and Fergie, and it ain't going to stop. And I suspect the King thinks, because people will go, just throw him out. Imagine them in not America, imagine them. And there are newspapers and networks across the world that will pay millions for their inside story of the royal family. So it's dangerous for the royal family.
Right, which touches exactly on what is happening at the moment. You're an experienced member of the media, and I'm utterly convinced there is somebody sitting on a stack of emails, as high as you like, and every week they go, right, sell another one to the media, and I don't blame them.
Yesterday, apparently, his team tried to hire trolls to smear Giuffre.
There's one coming out every week, and somebody's sitting on a stack of emails, making themselves a fortune. Well, good luck for laying their hands on them. And so this is gonna be drip fed and drip fed and drip fed and drip fed for as long as I can see. It's simply not going to go away.
Do you banish him though? What do you do with him?
Yeah, send him into exile. So the king,
a Western super mayor or something?
The king and the Prince of Wales need to send the pair of them into exile, into deepest southern France. Get them a gîte or something that they can do up. A chateau or something.
Why was this? What does this keep doing things up? He's a lazy sod.
So he's got something to do.
Right, okay.
Buy him a rundown sort of chateau then, if you don't buy into my 3-bed semi idea. Get him a rundown chateau in the back end of nowhere in France.
They can build a utility room.
And send them into exile.
What do you make of Prince Andrew? 0344 499 1000. Martin Tweedle. Isn't that a great name, Tweedle? Mr. Tweedle. No, he's not dumb. Morning, JK. If Starmer is away, does that mean we'll have Mastermind at PMQs? David Lammy. I mean, that's the ultimate. Look at Blakesley's face. Hi, Jez. Mark Rowley has been the wettest police chief in history, and we thought Cressida Dick was awful. I don't know why I said it with that intonation. He's not in charge of anything. Puppet on a string comes to mind. A country that lets ex-jihadi fighters lose on British streets doesn't surprise me that rapists are walking free. This country is on its backside. Morning, Pete. He says, good morning, Jez and Peter. A poor imitation of MG. Well, we're doing our best. The so-called powers that be in this country are slowly waking up to the fact that the mainly silent majority have had enough. I agree with this. The COVID debacle was where a lot of this state control got a major hold of us. But the worm is turning. Reform is the only real help for us. The majority, the silent majority, will have their moment. Let's talk about... that's a very good point about COVID. I didn't get too involved with COVID because on air, I wasn't on air, but this station did a great job. Today, Chris Whitty, I just pause and go, he's not really, is he? Admits that lockdown didn't help during COVID. I'm not sticking up for Johnson because he let me down massively. But all those scientists that gave him all this information are now backtracking, are they?
But look at
Chris, you're not so witty now, son, are you?
But look at the powers that were so hurriedly given to the police.
Yeah.
Without any debate, without any questioning, without any legal precedents to rely upon, suddenly the police were empowered beyond their wildest dreams.
Pete, honestly, I'll tell you this, I've never said this, but I remember the day, I remember Johnson doing his thing, I remember looking at my watch, I went out and bought 30 tins of Heinz Big Soup, what the hell was wrong with me? I'd never eaten it, the bit with big vegetables, but I remember walking, we lived in Windsor, I remember saying to Vic, right, it's 9 o'clock, let's go out for our walk with the baby. 9:58, we better get home. Armed police on the, literally in the streets, and you look back now and you go, it was a cold, right? In essence, I'm not being rude, and we were all panicking. But I maintain, politically, I don't think anybody knew what they were doing, and I don't think anybody would have done a better or worse job than the government that was there. It's an appalling. You're right, though.
You may be right on that, but the facts are the police were suddenly given these sweeping powers, and I think they revelled in them because, of course, what it meant was all other types of crime dropped hugely, dramatically. People were at home, so the opportunities to burgle those houses didn't exist. People weren't leaving their bikes unattended because they were at home. People's cars were on the driveway.
So that changed the way they thought about crime,
so
right?
all the crime went down hugely. All other types of crime. People weren't out on the streets, so they were stabbing each other.
So they were finding crime to investigate.
But then they were empowered with a whole new raft of laws, which is why we saw people being fined for having a cup of coffee. I know that later got rescinded, but they revelled in those powers. What are you doing on the street?
Just going to Marks and Spencer's to buy my tea. What's the matter with you?
All of that kind of stuff.
Right, listen, we've only got 7 minutes. Got to go now, break, and then I can come back. Right, I'm going to talk to you about two. And by the way, the King says social media is a ghastly invention. It was dreadful. We need to talk about how half of Gen Z are staying sober. But the biggest news of all is, I don't know. This has freaked me out. There are more acorns this autumn flying off the trees. I've got them all over my drive. Do you know what it causes?
Rats.
A boom in giant rats. Try working in show business. There's rats everywhere. Back in 3.
I know that newspaper editors have safes full of stuff on him and on Sarah Ferguson. They put money and their pleasure above anything and anyone else, and we're quite happy to agree. And Sarah Ferguson, hello, I know you're convicted of trafficking girls who are about the same age as my daughter, but could I borrow some money off you? Could you give me some money? They've never met a billionaire they didn't like. Yep. Doesn't matter how dodgy they are. I've just got no time for these people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
About 3 minutes to 7, we're live across the UK. JK for MG, Peter Blex is here. We'll talk about giant rats in a minute. I've got a couple of things for you, Peter Blexley. Yep. Breaking news, Prince Andrew has just now ruled himself out of the next series of Strictly Come Dancing as he's worried about the impact on his reputation. But here's a great one. Best quote I've heard all year. You ready for this?
Go on.
Hello, is that Mo Salah? It's Albus Dumbledore speaking. Hello. Can you please give me Harry Potter's invisibility cloak back and close the door on your way out? How good's that if you're a Liverpool fan? How rubbish is Mo Salah?
He was a very, very fine player. And they say that form is temporary, class is permanent.
Which is why you're always here. Giant rats, nearly 2 foot long, could be feasting on a bumper, or you try saying that, bumper autumn crop of acorns, fruit and nuts, experts have warned. A warm, dry spring followed by an early autumn means that 2025 is set to be a once-in-a-decade. I've got acorns everywhere. Does that mean I've got giant rats running around my house?
No, it means you live in a very big house.
Why?
Well, if you've got acorns, you must have oak trees in your garden. Who's got a garden big enough to have an oak tree in it?
All right, we don't have to start. Well, I don't know.
No, good luck to you. You've earned it. You've grafted. Well done.
I have got lots of trees, but I don't
envy in my soul.
You sound bitter and twisted.
Get out of it.
Also, Gen Z signal last orders for drunken night out. You got 1 minute.
Very important story, right?
Yeah.
So they're not drinking.
Yeah.
And we also know they're not having kids, right? I've only fathered 3 kids as opposed to your 6. But I've
3 that you know about, Blexley.
But I've never fathered a child sober. So I would suggest if they drank a bit more, they might have a bit more nookie and have a few more kids. Go and have a drink, kids, all right? You'll enjoy yourselves.
Do you think they're a bit boring, today's generation?
Of course they are.
Why?
Because they just are. Because all the fun in life's been sucked out of them. They've gone through COVID and they've remained gloomy. Look who's running the country. Look at the state of it. They can't get jobs. They're never going to own a home like we did.
If you're waking up, it's an inspirational speech from Peter Blexley this morning. Reasons to be cheerful? None.
Go and have a drink, sleep with your wife or girlfriend, have a kid, and good luck to you.
And don't sleep with somebody else's wife or girlfriend, because you'll end up on some terrible daytime show. Right, thank you, Peter Blexley, the paper review. You're a legend. We love having you on. If you're waking up this morning, JK for MG, 1 day only. Listen, if you want to be on 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Start your message with the word talk. We're live across the UK, and the news at 7 is next on Morning Glory.
Do you think it's a racist policy?
Well, I do think that it's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
According to Keir Starmer, if you think young men that illegally cross the English Channel should be detained and deported, you're racist. In fact, if you even criticise any element of the immigration policies of the last 2 governments, you're racist. And yet the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, tries to copy our policies.
Patriotism, a force for good, is turning into something smaller, something more like ethno-nationalism, which struggles to accept that someone who looks like me and has a faith like mine can truly be English or British.
Britain is being invaded. Thousands of fighting-age men from countries that despise Britain continue to arrive on our beaches. Our plan is the only appropriate response to a national security emergency. immediate removal. Deportation is the ultimate deterrent.
Our flags flying proudly as we celebrate difference and oppose racism.
Labour says these policies are racist and immoral, and by implication, Reform supporters, Reform voters, Reform sympathisers are racist too. Yes, if you think we should control our borders, you are, by the definition of the Prime Minister and his cabinet, all racists.
We can all see that the country faces a choice, a defining choice. Britain stands at a fork in the road. We can choose decency, or we can choose division, renewal or decline.
To accuse countless millions of being racist is a very, very low blow. Why? Well, this language will incite and encourage the radical left. I'm thinking of Antifa and other organisations like that. It directly threatens the safety of our elected officials and our campaigners. And frankly, in the wake of the Charlie Kirk murder, I think this is an absolute disgrace.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning to you. It's Tuesday. We're live across the United Kingdom. JK for MG. If you're waking up, it's Tuesday the 21st of October and this country's on its backside. We have a grooming inquiry that Labour dragged to agreeing to, which is now being sabotaged by our government. Two victims who are going to be part of it have said we're not having anything to do with it. Yesterday during drive time we discovered that Graham Linehan, the creator of Father Ted, who was arrested by 5 armed police on his way back to England in September, will not face a case now for simply having a view on gender that other people might disagree with. And out of that, the Met Police have said we're going to stop investigating non-crime hate, which is probably a good thing, but they are still going to record it, so London's back on that. So much going on, and let me tell you what's happening in this country with all the disasters. What's happening? Our Prime Minister, yes, he's off on his 40th trip since he became PM. He's off to COP30, where they've destroyed half a rainforest in the Amazon to make sure people like Ed Miliband can take their jets and their cars, sit down across a star-spangled few days costing hundreds of millions of pounds and talk about how we've all got too big a carbon footprint and the friends of the earth are hacked off because this planet's going to end. Whatever. Listen, so much to talk about. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Beck says, good morning, Jez. Margaret in Tunisia. No, you're not wrong. The UK is being led by morons. They don't seem to care about the British citizens. They are hell-bent on virtue signalling to the world. Starmer doesn't want to spend any time here because he thinks he's more respected by world leaders. You haven't got that clip from the other day, have you? The humiliation he suffered by President Trump should have shown him exactly what the world thinks about him. He and his cronies should resign and make way for a government who will put this country and these people first. Very interesting. 7:05. We'll say a very good morning to the Deputy Political Editor at the excellent Spectator, James Hill. It's been a while. How are you, my friend?
I'm all right, thank you, Jerry. Nice to see you.
My God, I mean, where do we start? Our Prime Minister is this morning accused of downplaying the grooming gangs. 2 victims have said we want nothing to do with a national inquiry that we had to drag the Prime Minister to agree to. People are, James, appalled, and I'll lead the way as a father. I don't understand. And I don't just blame Starmer, this goes back years. We're talking about major institutions, local government, the NHS, police, politicians, who think it's acceptable to hide or cover up something so vile, the abuse of young children, that is a stain on our country. I don't understand. I mean, there was something yesterday about, you know, in London, Sadiq Khan also has just been stonewalling. This is a disgrace nationally, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, Jeremy, the Express did some good work yesterday talking to, I think, about 7 whistleblowers who say that this has been going on in London too. The whole reason why we have this inquiry going on is because the tragedy is we still think these grooming gangs are operating in different bits of the country today, hence why it's not just about redressing historic wrongs, it's also about ensuring the same thing isn't happening in our country today. And the fact that these people have resigned from the inquiry is a damning indictment, and I think will be seized upon by people as proof that this government isn't serious. And it's why there's a lot of unhappiness with, for instance, Jess Phillips, who's the victims minister, and is she doing enough to get a grip of this issue?
But this is my point. You know, people like Jess Phillips, who quite rightly jumped up and down for a long time, talked about, you know, protecting women's, talked about stalking, talked about women's rights. I would have thought that anybody with the brain cell, and I don't, across the political divide, would go, do you know what? I mean, I said it, I'll say it again, I'll say it every hour until they throw me off here, right? As a father, I don't care about your religion, your colour, I don't care. I don't think that men of whatever creed who think it's okay to abuse kids should in any way be able to get away with that. And I think it is a disgrace that this country yet again can't seemingly do anything about it. I mean, if these whistleblowers are telling the truth, which you'd have to believe they are, they're saying we don't want a part of it because the government's going to just shut us down and we're going to have controls put on what we say. It exasperates me, pal. Really does.
Yeah, I mean, and also you think about the policing of certain languages or something like that, you know, sort of microaggressions, etc. People are very quick to jump on that. I mean, it's a shame that there isn't the kind of similar thought or care or effort being put into dealing with these people's concerns and actually ensuring that the wheels of justice, and justice should be timely, of course, as we all know, Jeremy, in terms of dealing with this stuff, should happen much quicker because, of course, this inquiry, which Labour didn't really want to have, was announced at the beginning of the year. We're now 10 months in, and clearly not enough is being done. Whether that's just sort of institutional inertia or sort of the wheels of justice turning slowly, I do think it's fair to say that from certain parts of the Labour Party there has not been sufficient effort put into making this a big priority, and I think there's no surprise to people resigning right now.
And just very quickly, yesterday on the back of Graham Linehan, you know, the case being thrown out, the Met Police have announced we're going to stop investigating non-crime hate, and I take that back to the grooming gangs. The silent majority in this country are going, hold on a second, you're going to arrest somebody for stupid words or something like that, not just a warning, somebody that upsets you, and yet these men, OK, so of course Rotherham with the British Pakistani community, and people will say there's plenty of white men. Yes, I don't care, I've said it. It is to me an absolute disgrace and on a par with the post office scandal, and sits really, really disgustingly, I think, in terms of the public. James, thank you very much indeed. Deputy political editor of The Spectator, whatever you want to talk about this morning. We're here till 10 o'clock. We're here 4 hours, is it? It's a disgrace. Good morning to my children, Oliver and Iris. Bless them. Bless them. They're eating their shreddies. Obviously, they have other cereal. I'm not out to get free shreddies. I'm just making the point. 0344 499 1000. Good morning, Pete. Your thoughts on grooming gangs, me old son?
I'm not trying to stir anything, but this needs a dad's protest, a dad's, husbands, friends, fathers. They all need to protest very peacefully about this, because this cannot be brushed under the carpet. This cannot be allowed to continue.
See, that to me is common sense, absolute common sense. I don't advocate anybody. Well, you're allowed to protest peacefully, aren't you? But as a father, I just, you know, my kids are sat at home with my wife eating their shreddies. I would literally, no, I'm not allowed to even say it. I don't understand it. I don't understand people in power at all thinking it's OK. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. It's 7:10. Oh, yes, he turns up to speak to me when I'm doing breakfast. Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, good morning.
Very good morning. I think it's good for you doing a 4-hour show for a change. You know, now you know what real work is.
Oh, Tice, how are you? Mate, I don't even know where to start. We started drive time yesterday talking about the Poppy fiasco, and it just went into overdrive. If I can start with something I know you want to talk about, the UK government borrowing. This is a government, right? They're not interested, apparently, in the grooming gangs inquiry. They're not interested about the police actually investigating crime. They're interested in heading off to COP30, whilst financially this country is on its backside. Breaking news this hour, the UK government borrowing rose to just over 20 billion last month, marking the highest September figure for 5 years. Richard Tice, we're skint, aren't we?
And more than skint. So just in 1 month of September, the government has borrowed £20.2 billion. Apart from the COVID year, that's the highest figure essentially on record. It means the total in the first 6 months of this year borrowed by this government is £100 billion. Just put that in context. That is about, that's over £3,000 per household borrowed for everybody just in 6 months. So whatever your house is worth, whatever the mortgage is, in 6 months, the government's lobbed another £3,000 of debt on your home.
Okay, so let me ask the question that most people, because you're a financial genius and I'm not. 100 billion in 6 months, 3,000 per household in terms of what they've borrowed, and yet we can't afford.
No. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We can't afford the interest on our debts as a country. Where's this 100 billion going then? Is it to just service that debt, or are we spending on immigrants or something? What's the truth here?
It's a combination of all those things. So we're borrowing money to pay the interest on what we've previously borrowed, and we're borrowing money to pay for the asylum hotels. We're borrowing money to pay to give away a valuable freehold called the Chagos Islands. We're borrowing money for all sorts of other useless, unproductive overseas aid, and we're borrowing money to pay public sector workers ever higher wages, with gold-plated pension schemes with no conditions on productivity or performance or the like. It's just ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous.
And yet we have a government, and we joke, right? Let me play a little montage. This is delivered specifically for you, Mr. Tice, and for everybody else, because this government came to power saying, this is about growth. I'm not doing the voice. This is about growth, it's about working people, and we won't raise taxes. Listen to Rachel Thieves. Have a watch.
This is a once-in-a-parliament budget. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
But we don't need to come back for more. We're not going to have to come back and ever do a budget like this again. So never again will I have to do a budget like I did in October. There is no need to come back with another budget like this. We never need to do that again.
5 minutes later.
There are tax rises coming down the track. Yeah, but
I've only just seen that. The truth is, Richard, I'm old enough to remember the 70s, and the truth about any Labour government is they'll say it's about working people and about growth, and what they do on day one is open their chequebook to their union mates and to anybody who they feel needs a pay rise, but they don't balance the books, and at the end of the day the only policy they then have is to raise taxation, and it's going to happen again, and the very people who are perhaps have done some great things in this country and provided work and built businesses are going to be screwed again. It's the only way that Labour ever behave, isn't it?
Well, her favourite phrase there seemed to be, she's never coming back. Well, frankly, I think your listeners and viewers would wish that she never came back and never came back into the House of Commons and gave another dreadful budget, which is what we're faced with. And yeah, I mean, socialists are very good at spending other people's money until they run out. And we are going to run out. I mean, this figure, it's some 13% more borrowed in the first 6 months of this year than the first 6 months of last year. And we know alongside this, there's no growth. The economy is flatlining. The figures announced just last week showed no growth whatsoever.
Yep.
So all of this data is getting worse and worse, and per week, per month, we are getting poorer as households.
Let me ask you as a voter then. You're a financial. You're a man who understands finance. You built businesses. You're now a politician. A lot of people will say that reform have the wind in their sails, but a lot of people will say the view from the cheap seats is always easier. Just as an overview, and I know it's a massively detailed subject, what is the answer? What's your answer to this debt? Because this lot seem to be swirling around. And you're right. How do you make growth if you put NI rises on small businesses that create jobs and wealth in this country, and all the people who have made any money are going to leave because the taxation's ludicrous? I think it's a complete change. How would reform? What's the top 3 things that you feel need happening, Richard?
Well, the overriding principle is that you've got to start earning more than you're spending. Because if you constantly spend more than you earn, you end up going bust, whether it's at home, at work, or running a country. Government spending is completely and utterly out of control, started by the Tories with their ludicrous policies like net stupid zero, carried on by this lot, and So you've got to dramatically cut back on wasteful government spending, whether it's the asylum seekers, whether it's the abuse of the welfare system, whether it's overpaying public sector workers. Across the board, there has to be a radical big shift. That's the first thing. The second thing you've got to do is get rid of daft, irritating, annoying, expensive, unproductive regulations that drive us all bonkers every day of every week, that actually cost businesses money that they then have to put on your bills. The third thing you've got to do is scrap net stupid zero immediately to save about 30 billion a year of taxpayers' cash, and to help bring down the cost of energy that affects all of your listeners and viewers and affects businesses up and down the country. When you do that, then you can give a direction of travel of cutting taxes, motivating and incentivizing people. So it's a series of those things. But at the moment, we're completely in hock to the bond markets. So we've got to cut spending and regulations first. Then we can do the tax cuts.
I know finance is really important to you, but I have to ask you a personal question, and don't worry, I'm on your side. Are you doing what all good politicians should do, and are you going to COP30? Because I don't know if you've heard the news, Never Hear Kia is heading off to an Amazon rainforest that's been basically flattened at huge cost. I'm sure that's not good for the environment. I could be possibly oh, there he goes, 40th trip in 16 months. He's still under the belief that he's more popular. Maybe he is more popular in an Amazon rainforest than he is in Streatham. I've no idea. You call it net stupid zero. It's one of the things I agree fervently with you on. I do not understand how we are prepared and willing to spend billions of pounds on something that isn't achievable while the rest of the world doesn't give a toss and our own country is financially in the toilet. It's total virtue signalling, isn't it, Richard?
Complete virtue signalling. If I went to COP30, I think I'd be mugged, frankly. But the irony of literally destroying tens of thousands of acres in order to build the roads to get to this ludicrous jamboree, and there'll be tens of thousands of people there for a couple of weeks pontificating around their navel and heaven knows what else. I mean, it's just utterly ludicrous. Oh, and by the way, there's a company called Drax in the north of England that is cutting down millions of trees in North America to bring them over the Atlantic in order to burn them as wood pellets, to claim that that is somehow environmentally friendly, for which we pay a subsidy of, give or take, £500 million a year. I mean, seriously, this stuff is insane. It's nuts. It drives me mad every single hour of every single day.
It doesn't make any sense, does it? These people, they stand up and they say, you know, it's important that we save the planet. You know, like hug a tree, Friends of the Earth. My point is simply this. China, Russia, nobody seems to care. It's about... I just don't understand why people are prepared to die on the altar of this ideology. It doesn't make sense, Richard.
But Jeremy, remember that if you don't understand something, follow the money. That is the simple slogan. And there is billions and billions of pounds of money being made by the vested interests all over the place. The consultants, the politicians sitting on their Quango boards and all of that.
Does it remind you of the EU, the sort of environmental lobby?
Yeah, a great corrupt gravy train. That's what it reminds me of. It's outrageous, and we're going to stop it.
Just very quickly, before you go, there's a sentencing bill in the Commons this afternoon. I think Sarah's on later to talk about it. The government is to allow the early release to thousands of rapists and violent criminals, and it's a real bugbear, this, to me. A real bugbear, and I'm totally behind reform, and make no apology for saying that on this. I think if you commit a crime and get given 5 years, you should serve 5 years. As it stands, you probably lose 30 to 40% for good behaviour, which makes the original sentence irrelevant. The government now, to cure the problem of prisons, is saying, oh, we'll knock another 30% off. What the hell, Richard Tice, is the point of being given a sentence if at the end of the day, the way they want to do, you'll probably end up serving 30% of the time? It's ludicrous, man. Surely a crime and a punishment, you should serve the full time.
Well, if you say 5 years, then that's the definition. 5 years is 5 years. It's not 15 months.
No.
And, you know, Sarah will go through the brilliant amendments and what she's going to say at this sentencing bill. She's drilled into it in great detail. It's an outrage. And very simplistically, plus or minus, we've got about 10,000 foreign nationals in our jails. They should all be hoofed out and sent back to where they came from.
Oh, no, that might upset their countries, because apparently...
I don't care.
I don't either. I'm just trying to...
I just don't care.
No.
Tough.
Go on.
It's tough. You know, frankly, if you break the law of this country and you come here at our hospitality, then that's it. You're done. You're out. Goodbye. Thanks for coming, and don't come back.
When you wake up every morning, do you? I know it's a continual fight. I come in here, or I do drive, or whatever, and I just want to have one of those days when there doesn't seem to have been a ridiculous decision made. If it's not the grooming gangs, yesterday very quickly, Graham Linehan, of course, quite rightly, dropped the case, and then they announced we're going to stop investigating non-crime hate. I don't know how I've ended up living in a country where if you burgle a shop or somebody's house, you don't get told off, but if you say I think he's a bit of an idiot, you can be put in jail. What has happened to the United Kingdom, Richard?
Well, let's try and be optimistic as we move towards the end of this interview and say, well done the Met for finally having some common sense and making the right decision and reversing a bad decision. So I think it's good to try and be optimistic on those few occasions where we can under a socialist government.
Brilliant. And you cut me off there, didn't you, as we come to the end of... You've changed, you have, Tice. I'll speak to you off air. Thank you very much indeed. Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice. We'll head to a break. 0344 499 1000, whatever you want to talk about. Dan on stopping non-hate crime. Take it away, son.
Morning, Jeremy. Dan from Norfolk here. I smell a bit of a rat. They're stopping investigating non-crime hate incidents because at the minute, probably the most reported incidents of non-crime hate speech would be anti-Semitism, I suppose. So that probably goes against most of the narratives they've been trying to drum up. The old anti-immigration, all that type of thing. No, out of the way now, because now it's anti-Semitism that's been on a mass scale spoken, and they don't want to investigate that, do they? That's how I'm seeing it anyway. Sorry for going on a bit. Have a good day, bye.
It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
This is quite embarrassing for Sadiq Khan, because in view of that abject denial and in fact playing around with words, that it's clear that there is a problem somewhere and that the authorities haven't really reacted to it. And it's much easier to deal with these problems when you accept there is a problem and you get stuck into it and solve it.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning, welcome back. 7:25. We're live across the UK on Tuesday, the 21st of October, you lucky people, or not. JK on breakfast, morning glory till 10. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. My children have had their shreddies. They're now in front of the television. They didn't hear the mention. Oliver, Iris, I love you. Miss you. See you later on. Hope everything's okay. Listen, new feature to this amazing show that MG and Christian and the gang have put together. Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick will join Morning Glory for a brand new monthly phone-in called Ring Rob. God, that took time to work that out, didn't it? Ring Rob. Brilliant, well done. If you have a question for him, Rob, well, you can ring him. Because that's what... Never mind. Anyway, call us. Do it now. Oh, is this a different number? Oh, it's the same number. 0344 499 1000. What would you ask Robert Jenrick? How'd you feel when Kemi Badenoch pulled out the stamp duty click? Is that the end of your leadership ambition? That's what I'd ask him. Secondly, when are you going to join Reform, mate? The Conservative Party is dead in the water. You know, get your calls in early, though. Ring Rob. Well done, by the way. Can I just say creatively, that's genius. Ring Rob, because you can ring Robert Jenrick. That's... Never mind. 0344 499 1000. As you know, Prince Andrew, I had to tell him, you're no longer the Duke of York. You need to pay some rent. This is Julia. Julia sent a voice note. It's good of her to be involved. Have a listen.
Good morning, Jeremy. Nice to see you in the morning. Excuse me, we don't want Prince Andrew in Weston-super-Mare. We've got enough with migrant hotels. Have a great day. Bye. Julia in Weston-super-Mare, obviously.
She's changed her voice. Julia in Weston... Because I said earlier, where... Yes, all right, fair enough. Where would he be banished to? Let's open the phone lines. You can ring Rob. You could also text me on 87222. Where should we banish Prince Andrew to? I would say somewhere where there's large acorns, because there's rats. Now my kids will be frightened. Listen, so much going on this morning, but the big news story yesterday... Oh, God, this is terrible. Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, or Sir Keir Starmer, is about to head off on his 40th trip in 16 months. Air Miles Keir. He's off to attend COP30, which is in Brazil. They've had to dig half the rainforest down to create a runway and roads so they can get in there. We're delighted to say a very good morning. Is it Harry Wilkinson, Head of Policy at the Global Warming Policy Foundation? You see, that's a proper job, and I'm just sat here. Good morning, Harry. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you.
Very good to have you on. You're not one of those... You're not pro the friends... You're not one of them friends of the earth and up for this net stupid zero rubbish, are you?
No, absolutely not. You know, we've been shining a light on just how damaging climate change policies have been since 2009 when... Good. Lawson.
I was being slightly cynical. I support almost everything that the Global Warming Policy Foundation talks about. It is ludicrous, though. Let me just play for the people listening this morning. This was Starmer some months ago talking about the race to net zero. And let's not forget while we're watching this that the legend that is Mike Graham once said one of the greatest lines ever, which is, let's just say we do get to net zero, right? What does that mean? Do you get a medal? What's next? You're going to get to -10. Whilst we're spending billions, the rest of the world doesn't give a toss. Have a listen, have a watch.
There's a global race on for the jobs of the future in relation to net zero. More investment is coming into this country in relation to renewables than any other sector. I don't think now is the time to step away from that race. Now is the time to double down on that race. Some country is going to win the race when it comes to renewables and the changes for net zero. I want Britain to be in that race, and I want us to win that race.
Harry, sorry, can I put this in layman's terms? What happens if you win the race to net zero? Do you get a medal or something? What?
Well, you deindustrialise your economy, you destroy many livelihoods, and, you know, this is the Prime Minister of international institutions. That's why he's heading off to COP30. This is the Prime Minister who said that he would rather be in Davos than Westminster. Rather follow this international agenda rather than fix the problems that are right.
And that is exactly what I've been saying all morning. You've got, what was it, government borrowing last month rose by a further 20 billion. You've got a grooming gangs inquiry that's on its backside. You've got the police not knowing what a crime is. We're skint. People's energy bills and food bills are going up, and he thinks it's a good idea to head off to Brazil to talk about how apparently net zero will benefit us all. The truth is, Harry, and this is me at my most serious, if you're billions in debt and you can't even afford the interest on the debts you've got, for me it's about priorities, and I think there's enough in this country right now that the government should be spending its money on. That's where I come from.
You're completely right. It's the ultimate self-indulgence for Keir Starmer to be going to Brazil right now. We're in a desperate situation. We're losing jobs in the North Sea. We're losing jobs from the steel industry, from ceramics. These are real people with real livelihoods. These were good, solid, working class, high-skilled, high-paid jobs that, unfortunately, we don't have enough of. And particularly in those regions that were the Labour heartlands, where a lot of these industrial jobs were located, you know, those places are seeing more and more industrial decline. He's got to turn that around. That should be his priority.
Why do you think though? Because I mean, I happen to be lucky enough to have been on air the other day when I wish we had the clip, we haven't, but when he was humiliated. I mean, Trump tore him a second one. It was the best bit of television I've seen in a long time. Stood on the stage in wherever it was, Sharm el-Sheikh, and wanting to take credit for the peace process between the Palestinians and Israelis, despite the fact that he'd recognised Palestine and was nothing to do with it, and was literally put in his place by the Donald. And you think, so you run around the world thinking that you're some sort of international statesman when you're not actually, you're irrelevant. But more than that, we as a country are becoming, as you quite rightly say, stuff at home that needs doing, and yet just run away from it, you know? It's beyond me, and I don't understand how they think that this money can be wisely spent. There must be other things. I don't know why so many of them are prepared, and Boris Johnson was the same. Why are they prepared to die on this altar of madness, just green madness?
Well, I think the reason has to be that these kind of conferences appeal to the vanity of politicians, not just Keir Starmer, but other global politicians. This gives them a chance to say, we're saving the world. Of course, they're not saving the world. No. The world never been more prosperous. We've seen deaths from extreme weather fall 99% in the last 100 years. We've never been safer. We've never been more prosperous thanks to economic growth. These politicians are plotting to sacrifice that economic growth. And we've still got people, unfortunately, despite all that progress, who are living without clean water. Yeah. They're living without access to electricity. These people are really suffering. And it's a moral disgrace that they're talking about how they use solar panels and wind turbines when they should be talking about building the power stations that can connect these countries.
Should we just nail it? Should we just nail it? Because I happen to be... I can't even remember where I was the other day, and those bloody wind things, those white things were going round. Let's just be absolutely honest, and I'm sure people know this. If you don't... I was only told this some time ago. On the one hand, it doesn't blow enough in this country to create enough electricity. So then what you have to do is you have to go abroad and import it at more cost, which is why your bill goes up. But even more frighteningly is, if it does blow a hoolie like it's going to this weekend, guess what? They can't accept all the thing and they have to switch it off, and switching it on and off again means it costs even more than having it on. It's madness. It's like there's no common sense with it at all, Harry. No common sense with it. You're right. It's a vanity ideology that's gone out of control, isn't it?
It has. I mean, the idea that you can industrialise a country like Uganda or Tanzania with some solar panels and wind farms that don't work half the time is a complete nonsense. And, you know, when the West is stepping back and being indulged with this green ideology, people like China are coming in. They are building coal power stations. They are building road. They are building the infrastructure that we see as dirty. We see ourselves as too holier than thou to be funding this essential infrastructure. And other countries are stepping in. We're losing influence. And actually, you know, what these institutions should be for is promoting our values of democracy, freedom, protection from corrupt governments. These are the things we want to be promoting internationally. But we're failing to do that because we're obsessed with this green ideology. And of course, we're distracting the very serious issues that we're facing here at home.
Is, just to finish, Harry, and we love you, is Richard Tice right? Net stupid zero, he is, isn't he?
It is a crazy ideology. I think there can be no dispute about that. But what we need an alternative now from political parties is to show how are they going to get electricity prices down. Whatever the next government is, they're going to be left with a complete mess in terms of our energy sector. So we need plans now to get the cost of energy down.
See, there's you being practical from the, I've got to get this right, the Global Warming Policy Foundation, but our Prime Minister says it's a race to win. We want to win the race. Harry, thank you so much indeed. 7:35. We are live across the UK. Jez says Pete the Mole. Why is he called Pete the Mole? I love having a big carbon footprint. Carbon creates life and makes it flourish. Always has and always will. Plus, I love a big fat steak and driving my own Land Rover, so they can all do one. Good morning, it's Morning Glory, back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's 22 minutes to 8 o'clock. Here's a rule for you. If you're doing a breakfast show live, don't have one of those biscuits that get stuck in your throat. And also, we've got to a point now where people start to drift into the office. And this is what happens when you're doing morning radio. They just come and stare through the glass at you and go, oh, that human being's talking. Yes, we've been here 3 hours, you bunch of lazy people. 0344 419 1000. Sir Keir Starmer's off to COP30. I wish he'd cop off, to be honest. Anyway, James, what do you reckon, me old son?
Morning, Jez. James from Liverpool here. The reason why Starmer, Captain Wet Wipe himself, doesn't want to be here, he knows the country hates him. And, yeah, you're right, he thinks he is some kind of worldwide leader and, you know, everyone looks up to him. You've only got to look at that clip with Trump. They all knew what was going to happen. They were all laughing at him. And that was before he even done what he'd done. And then afterwards, they could barely hold it together. He's a public and national and worldwide embarrassment. He needs to get gone. Have a great day, my friend.
Couldn't agree more. Dave says, morning, JK. It doesn't matter that Never is going to Brazil because David Lammy will now be in charge. This is Dave in Aberdeen. He went, what's there to worry about? Liam's in Bolton. No, not Liam. I don't know why I've done that. Never hear Keir trying to fool everyone, pretending he's Mr. Greenfingers. Let's not go there. Running from the public yet again. He's a pathetic example. This is brilliant, Tom. Surprise, surprise. Keir Force One going on another jolly whilst the country's on its arse. That's my opinion. Morning, Jess, says Neil. Do you know that the UK flew, you try saying that through a biscuit, flew 470 delegates to COP29 in Baku, racking up 2.3 million air miles with a total carbon footprint of at least 338 tonnes of carbon dioxide. Here's the thing for you. Do you think when No Hear Keir goes, will he be flying in the same plane as the I Can't Eat a Bacon Sandwich Miliband, or will they go in two jets? Double carbon footprint. Talk, Jez. It's very to the point, Tony in Derbyshire. Talk, Jez. New name for two-tier Keir. Cop out, Keir. This man is ruining this country. We need to get him out. Couldn't agree more. JK and Pete, he finished an hour ago. 60,000 in over to migrants, 42 out, and we get 42 back from France. So the calculator still says 60,000. And I'm not a maths wizard, says Helen in Norfolk. And finally, Terry in Slough, made famous, of course, by The Office. I'm in my 70s. You were last night when you texted me on Drive. And in my opinion, this Labour government is the worst I've seen in my lifetime. And I've seen some terrible ones, Jez. I wouldn't trust this lot to run a jumble sale, never mind this great country of ours. Actually, I'm just going to do one more. Jez, whatever happened to the big passenger hovercrafts Britain used to have? Do you remember them? Massive. Surely, if they're still in a museum, we can recondition them or build others. Then we can pick up dinghies in the Channel and take the yacht straight back and land them on the French beaches. Just a thought, says Mike in Rotherglen. Listen, Mike, that's far too basic and no, it's actually just common sense, which is what this station's about, but the government isn't about common sense. Yesterday in the middle of Drive, Graham Linehan, he, the creator of Father Ted, was on his way back from Arizona in September and was arrested at the airport when he landed by 5 armed policemen, it was men before you jump up and down, who basically said your misgendering ideas are wrong and it's a disgrace. And he basically had to go through the ignominy of being arrested. It made him ill. It was all written about. Yesterday, the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, that used to be run by Keir Starmer, decided to throw out the case and said we shouldn't have done it in the first place. And almost instantaneously, the Met Police announced that they will stop investigating controversial non-crime hate incidents. So basically, you know, nowadays you can steal something and nobody doing it, but if you say, I think he's a bit of a tosser, then you probably go to jail for 10 years. We say that's going to end now. David Spencer is the... Everybody's got a long title today. David Spencer is the head of crime and justice at Policy Exchange and a former Met detective. David Spencer, good morning, sir. How are you?
Morning, Jeremy. Very well. Thanks very much for having me on.
Pleasure. I would say about time too, but I like the way the Met sort of slunk that out on the back of Graham Linehan. What a ludicrous country we live in, my friend. This is a person who's always had respect from the police. You know, when I was growing up, you know, men and women, policemen and women were on the streets getting intel, you know, leading to you feeling that they were actually, I don't know, arresting criminals. Now, they don't do that, and they have been spending their time, I don't know, since COVID, arresting people for no bloody reason whatsoever. It's madness, isn't it?
Well, these non-crime hate incidents, as they're called, is something that we at Policy Exchange have been writing about for quite a while. Last year, we published a pretty major report about them. And I think one of the interesting things that we need to note here about the Met Police's stance is what they're saying here, and the language is important. What they're saying that they're not going to continue investigating these non-crime hate incidents, but what they are going to do is continue recording them. So what it means essentially is, yes, they're not going to be spending loads of time investigating them. That's a good thing. They can get on with investigating actual crime like shoplifting and theft and robbery and these sorts of...
No, not genuine crime. Surely not.
So they can do that, but the reality is that when they're recording them, that still has a really chilling effect on free speech. Because as an example, what you can see is that a non-crime hate incident gets recorded against you. You then go for a job, you do a DBS check, gets done, and then that information can get provided.
I think it's a really, really important point to make, and one that Blexley made earlier. It could be this is window dressing on the back of the Linehan case to say we're not going to investigate, but we do need to warn everybody. You're absolutely spot on, David. This will be recorded, and there will be somewhere in the ether of the world, it will be recorded that you have indeed been warned about this. And Graham Linehan has backed this up this morning by saying he wants that recording banned as well. Will that happen? Can it happen? Should it happen?
Well, that's what one of our recommendations with Policy Exchange last year. That's exactly what we've said. The whole scheme needs to be completely abolished. The reality is that there is legislation and there is regulations set by the Home Office. Now, the Home Office have been reviewing and looking at this for quite some time, probably about a year since they promised they were looking at it. It seems that, to be honest, it's been kicked into the long grass, and government needs to look at this. But actually what we need to see as well is every other police force and the College of Policing following the Met's lead, saying we're not going to investigate this stuff, but actually we're going to go further. We're not going to record any of this stuff anymore. But
why is it? Explain to me. You do a proper job, and you've quite rightly been pushing for this to happen. There are so many examples, and I'm not just pushing talk as the home of common sense, right? But there's so many things on a daily basis that we talk about on this station that make no bloody sense to the average person, that are ludicrous decisions. Why? How is it right that the police forces in this country that are supposed to protect the inhabitants of this country against people who commit crimes are not doing that? The Lucy Connolly is a great example. I'm not condoning her words, but we'll spend time arresting these people. The guy from Times Radio that was dragged out of his house for daring on WhatsApp to criticise a teacher. 5 armed police. It's beyond comprehension to me. How have we got to this position, David?
But the thing is, as well, there are cases even more even more ridiculous. Like, so, for example, I'm looking at one now. Police recorded a non-crime hate incident which was reported to them because a couple had been thrown out of a pub for having sex in the toilet. The couple were transgender, apparently, so they recorded that as a non-crime hate incident. Another one, a man got on a bus and he alleged that other passengers were giving him funny looks because of his skin colour. When the Chief Inspector of Constabulary looked at the recording of non-crime hate incidents a year or so ago, they found that 25% of the ones recorded by the police were wrongly recorded. So they are getting this completely wrong. In terms of where this comes from, I think we need to look at some of the ideologies that have taken hold in policing and across the criminal justice system, and particularly what I've described as the progressivist ideology. So the prioritizing of identity politics and identity over actually what's happening. So characteristics over circumstance, as some people have described it. I think that's the problem, is that what we're seeing is a prioritization of those sorts of issues over actual dealing with what's happened and what the crime is.
And I think it would be very interesting if the police began to understand entirely how frustrated and angry people are. I think the Policy Exchange does great work here. Maybe the Mets, maybe it's just window dressing, maybe they'll be followed, but maybe we should look at it as the first step towards some sort of common sense in the long run. David Spencer, thank you very much indeed. I'm just sat here doing Morning Glory thinking non-crime hates, and then he told the story about the bus. You'll love this, Christian. You'll love this, boys. It takes me back to the Victoria Wood sketch. She said, you can sum up Britain brilliantly. Think about it. The Spanish have flamenco dancing, the Italians have opera. She said, I got on a bus once. It was an English bus, and I sat at the top, and 2 people started having sex, but because it was an English bus, nobody said a word, just everybody looked at the floor. And when they'd finished having sex on the bus, the bloke sat up and lit up a cigarette, and 3 people stood up and said, I think you'll find this is a non-smoking bus. That sums up the United Kingdom. Good morning, this is Talk.
This is on them. You know, their absolute dogged refusal to contemplate that there might be something a lot bigger and darker going on here when it comes to people of criminal intent or criminal background, or people who are basically indebted to people smugglers and then have to come to our country. Once they get to our country, have to behave in certain ways in order to pay back their handlers.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, you lovely people. Tuesday morning, JK for MG. We're here until 10 o'clock this morning. Rear Admiral Chris Parry in a tick. Andrew, exile in that grifter's paradise, Montecito, Helen in Norfolk. Jane says, is there any way that Andrew, this is the Duke, oh, he's not allowed to be called the Duke of York. Prince Andrew, my brother, the naughty little man. Is there any way he can be made to go to the US to face the consequences? I suggested Weston-super-Mare and upset them. Why would anybody be called Tango? Anyway, I've got to listen to bloody Jeremy Kyle 3 hours on the way home from work. Now I've got to listen to him 4 hours on the way into work. Doesn't he deserve a break? I don't need a break. Sharon's in Staffordshire. To be honest, I'm sick of all these inquiries. Nothing gets any better and it's a waste of taxpayers' money. And finally, Mick in Wallington. Labour's solution for prison overcrowding and court backlogs. The police to stop arresting and courts to stop convicting and prisons to release people early. Congratulations and welcome to Stalin's Britain. Stalin, Starmers, whatever. Listen, good morning. Who we got? Helen on taxes. Oh, God, go.
Morning, Jeremy. This is Helen from Lincolnshire. I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but I think we owe Rishi Sunak an apology. No, hear me out. Leading up to the election, time and time again, that man appeared on stage, on TV, warning us that a vote for a Labour government was a vote for higher taxes. Time and time again, he was accused by Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner, and the obvious ones that he was lying, that he was misleading the British public, that he was just saying anything to win the election. But he kept warning us. He kept telling us that a vote for Labour was a vote for higher taxes.
Couldn't agree more, Helen. This is this is Sunak during the leadership debate. Have a watch.
Taxes are now being cut. Keir Starmer would put all that progress at risk. He would put up everyone's taxes by £2,000. £2,000 in higher taxes for every working family in our country. After all the hard work and sacrifice we've been through, that's not the right course of action. I don't know why you want to put up people's taxes.
Keir Starmer. Paul, I just don't know how you feel when you hear a Prime Minister say, having heard what you're going through, that the plan is working, it's all right. I meet so many people who are struggling with their bills, and the Prime Minister just keeps saying he lives in a different world, that
Keir Starmer, if people are struggling with their bills, why do you want to make it harder for them by saddling them with £2,000 worth of higher taxes? How is that going to make Paula or anyone's life easier?
Could you respond?
Can I give my point very quickly? And I completely agree with the lady that texted. That's how much of a bad job the Tories did. Because if they hadn't stopped being listened to by the British public because they messed up and lied for that long, we wouldn't be in the goddamn mess. I don't disagree with Sunak, but if you'd been stronger in immigration and carried out the promises you said to the British public, you'd still be in power, mate. That would be my opinion. There's a story out today that's going to get you all going, even more so. We say a very good morning to Rear Admiral Chris Parry, former NATO commander and top man. How are you, sir?
Morning, how are you doing?
UK ready to spend over 100 million quid on the possible deployment of British troops in Ukraine. Chris, your thoughts?
Well, Jeremy, I think we've discussed before, this is probably strategically the most irresponsible government in my lifetime. This is one that's going to surrender the Chagos Islands to China, India, and anybody that really wants to use the Chagos Islands. And now they're telling us they want to deploy British troops to Ukraine. And this is after Putin has said the one thing he won't put up with is NATO troops in Ukraine. What are they going to be there for? As far as I can see, it's just going to be camping for fun, because unless you're prepared to fight and kill Russians, you're not going to deter them. The best people to be peacekeepers in Ukraine are the Ukrainians. We should arm them to the teeth, and we should stay well clear, because it will be a provocation to Putin, which he will take advantage of.
And from a military point of view, that is one aspect. From a country's point of view, the silent majority, the people that have been, you know, squarely behind the Ukrainians, they'll look at that and go, 100 million quid, there's enough problems going on in this country, and you're going to escalate it by doing that. It doesn't... again, and I think it's a fair criticism, there's so much posturing by this government, so much posturing, and you wonder whether this is just the latest thing to say. Like the rape gang inquiry, we'll just say we're going to have one. We'll say we're going to sort out net zero. We'll say nothing ever happens. To me, this government is summed up best by the Prime Minister is somebody who seems, I think, to listen to focus groups and say things just to get a reaction, Chris. This is barking mad, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I just don't think this Labour government has any strategic statecraft at all. They don't understand how to threaten and use force. And when they think of deploying military forces somewhere, I'm sure they're not taking the advice that they're being given by my former colleagues. It is absolutely ludicrous to suggest that our troops have the capability to survive in Ukraine if they're attacked by the Russians. And sure enough, the Russians will attack them. They'll provoke some sort of action, and we will run for cover because our politicians will lose the will.
Well, you said that you believe this government is the weakest you've ever known. Where does it end then, militarily? I mean, Healey looks possibly one of the more serious members of the cabinet, but you look across the aisle when you're looking at them and you think, I mean, domestically, internationally, militarily, in almost every aspect, you just throw your hands up and go, and I didn't expect it to be an nth of this, but they're incompetent, massively incompetent.
Well, it's worse than that, Jeremy. They're irresponsible. They don't think through the consequences of anything. Yeah. And I, for one, would not want to go in harm's way on behalf of any political objective by this current regime.
And what is that? And listen, God, yeah, absolutely. And we were talking earlier about net zero. We were talking yesterday about the flags and poppies. And one of the biggest disgraces, and I'll say it forever until again they drag me out, is the way we treat people who have been in the forefront for this country, the veterans. I tell the story every week that on Saturday she sends me to get whatever, and there's a serviceman, a vet. He's on the streets in the town that I live in, and he's been there 14 years, and he's been thrown out of his accommodation for migrants. But more than that, how are we treating 100 million to put them on the ground? Why are we not looking after the men and women that fought for this country and put us where we are?
I'm afraid, Jeremy, it's a tradition of this country. If you go back to Kipling, you know, they love Tommy when he's fighting for the country, but as soon as the war is over, they won't buy him a drink. They'll kick him out the pub. I'm afraid veterans are the half-forgotten, half-remembered people who have sacrificed a great deal for this country. And I'm afraid politicians don't give them the time of day, just lip service, that's all. We need to do a lot better. I saw him even in France, Jeremy, yesterday. I saw baguettes that had wrappers on them that said, "Remember our veterans." Remember their sacrifice in French. Now, if the French can do that on Trafalgar Day, it's Trafalgar Day today, by the way, so we need to toast the immortal memory of Lord Nelson and remember the sacrifices that those people made in those days against totalitarian rule, and we're having to put up with this on a daily basis in our own country.
Couldn't agree more, mate. It's always great to have you on. The legend that is Rear Admiral Chris Parry talking about the decision that this government wants to put troops on the ground in Ukraine. That'll cost 100 million quid. Looking at the clock, where's it gone? We're live across the UK. It's Tuesday, the 21st of October. This is Morning Glory. JK for MG. If you want to be on the next hour, we've got Sarah Poachin. Oh, we're going to have fun. 03, didn't sound right. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Start your message with the word talk. The news at 8 is next on Morning Glory.
Your Majesty. Melania and I are deeply grateful to you and Queen Camilla for your extraordinary graciousness. And to William and Kate, thank you so much. It's been so great being with you today. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's a singular privilege to be the first American president welcomed here. The phrase special relationship, seen from American eyes, the word special does not begin to do it justice. We're joined by history and fate, and by love and language. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with you.
Security remains the cornerstone of this special relationship. We have the deepest, most advanced defense relationship in the world.
As I said last night, the bond between our countries is like no other anywhere in the world. The United States and the United Kingdom have done more good on this planet than any two nations in human history.
We are working together to end the humanitarian catastrophe in the Middle East.
The one that I thought would be easiest would be because of my relationship with President Putin, but he's let me.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning to you. It's Tuesday, the 21st of October. JK for MG Live across the UK, the home of free speech and common sense, with 2 hours to go. God, it's busy this morning. Whatever you want to talk about, as ever, you can contact the show. 0344 499 1000. You can send a voice note. I don't understand, but technically, apparently, that works. You can send a text on 87222. Start your message with the word talk in an hour. Very exciting. And a lot of thought has gone into this creatively. I take no credit for this. Robert Jenrick, Shadow Justice Secretary, is joining Talk on a monthly basis, and he's going to answer your questions. So some bright spark in the creative department thought, oh, what can we call that? Robert Jenrick is going to take... Well, Ring Rob. Ring Rob. Brilliant. Well done. Look at that little graphic there. Brilliant. Marvellous. So if you'd like to put a question to Robert Jenrick, like, is the Labour Party, is the Conservative Party over for good? Will you win any seats in the next election? Aren't Reform going to be the next government? What do you make of Nigel? All that sort of stuff. 0344 499 1000. The poor man was looking forward to just probably, well, he's got to put up with me this morning. But ring Rob. Ring Robert Jenrick. Shortened to Ring Rob. 0344 499 1000. A very good morning to Katie in North Yorkshire. I so appreciate this week. She says, Jez and all at Talk, I just wanted to share a thought regarding the disgusting grooming gangs and the debate about the inquiry. I was a victim of grooming, but by a UK-born white man, and everyone also turned a blind eye to that. The cost of an inquiry shouldn't matter. The victims do. Completely agree with you, Katie. And actually, I said it before, and I'll say it again, because there's a big story today that Labour being accused of downplaying the grooming gangs national inquiry that they sort of reluctantly agreed to. And two of the victims, Fiona Goddard and Ellie Reynolds, have already said, we're stepping away from it. It's going to be a whitewash. It's going to be a joke. It's not going to happen. And I think it's a stain on our society. And I think that Katie in North Yorkshire is right. When you think of 100 million quid to put troops on the ground in Ukraine, or you think about, I don't know, the cost of net zero, how much we're spending on migrants in hotels. We should be spending that money on this inquiry being absolutely to the point, and it should be an independent boss, and there should be, I think, prosecutions for people who have let those young girls down. I think it's an absolute given, and I'm sure that people would agree. 0344 499 1000. Morning, JK. On a bus years ago, two people were doing the deed. Right. Oh, I see. Then the man got angry with the willing woman. I stood up, being a woman's man, stood up for her, then got attacked by both of them for standing up for her. I'll never intervene again. John, Liverpool, PS, I watched them like I was watching a movie. I don't want to know about that sort of thing, but it's lovely for, yeah. That's pretty English, isn't it? It's like you get involved. People go, why are you getting involved? Because I thought I was doing the right thing. 0344 499 1000. Terry in Slough. Anyone with an ounce of common sense knows that this idiotic rush to net zero will be disastrous for this country. Unfortunately, there seems to be a lack of common sense in this useless, incompetent, lacking in common sense Labour government. Great. Listen, it's a very exciting moment for me to announce my next guest, Reform MP for Runcorn and Helsby. And I can tell you, if Reform win the next election, this lady will either be the Home Secretary or the Justice Secretary. There she is in her kitchenette, I would say. Sarah Poachin, good morning from your kitchenette. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. I'm totally confused this morning. I normally wake up with Mike Graham, and I've woken up this morning to find you.
You usually wake up with him and go to bed with me. It's all gone round the wrong way, hasn't it?
Great. Yeah,
Do you prefer me in the mornings? No, I'm not going there. Right, Sarah Poachin, before we talk about the justice thing, there is some breaking news. The Oxford Union president-elect, this creature, George Aberoni, who made some pretty scathing tweets and messages about the death of Charlie Quirk, has been ousted in this vote. He was due to take over as president of the 202-year-old Debating Society next term. He has been forced out. Breaking news, Charlie Kirk shooting. He sent a terrible message. George Aberoni, I hope I've got that right, no disrespect to him, has been ousted. Your response to that, Sarah Poachin?
Absolutely excellent. I mean, I was just despairing at the state of the sort of Oxford Debating Society. You know, it's been there for years and years and years. It's a very famous sort of debating society, and we had this absolutely vile individual that suddenly found himself as, was it president-elect or something?
President-elect. And in fact, what had happened was, and I'm going to pay credit to Chloe Dobbs, by the way, who commentates on this station. She went to Oxford and she's been involved in getting this vote up and running. Basically, he was due to take over in the new year as president. It's 202 years old. Many sponsors, many high-profile people who were due were saying, if that man stays, we're not doing it. It's an absolute flipping outrage. So he has been thrown out. Aberoni. I'm with you. I daren't say too much.
I'm all for people having the ability to obviously have their say. That's what debating is all about. But some of his comments are vile. And again, I would say moving towards inciting division and violence and against individuals. And it's not acceptable. The Oxford Debating Society is just that, and it should remain that. A fair place where you can give your opinions without fear of either retribution or attack.
Absolutely. So much to talk about. The main, we'll go from the justice done for that Oxford Union human being to your main thing today. And I know this because we spoke on Drive Time last week. Today in the House of Commons, this government thinks it's an important piece of legislation to bring in a sentencing bill, which in layperson's terms, see what I did there, Sarah? Can't say layman's, can you? Because it'll upset women. In layperson's terms, and you were a magistrate for 20 years, if I appear in your court and you give me 5 years, now I'm going to be out after 2 for good behaviour. This bloody government's answer to the problems of their prisons being rammed and all that's going on is to say, oh no, we're going to let them out earlier. They might be rapists or violent criminals, but why don't we just let them serve 30% of their sentence, which to me completely eradicates what prison and punishment is for, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Look, this is quite a detailed subject, so I will try to make it as interesting as possible for this time in the morning. But basically, this bill is all about freeing up prison spaces and nothing about protecting the British public. So if I can just try and break it down for people, the first thing that's going to happen is that if an offender gets a sentence of up to 12 months in custody, then there is a presumption that that must be suspended. So in other words, in plain English, if you get a custodial sentence of up to 12 months, you don't go to prison. OK, you serve that out in the community.
So what's the point of being given a custodial sentence then?
Exactly. Most important example of where this could be an absolute betrayal of protection of the public is knife crime. Because if you are found in possession of a bladed article at the moment, there is a mandatory 6-month prison sentence. Now, often, for different reasons, the magistrates don't give that 6 months because people say, they plead mitigation. But it should be a mandatory 6-month sentence. That means that they automatically should get 6 months. under this new clause, then they won't get the 6 months. They will be let out. So the possession of a bladed article, what happens in that case? Now, Reform have put 10 amendments into this sentencing bill, and that was one of them, to remove that clause altogether.
Imagine the common sense of saying, you know, if you get caught with a knife under these ludicrous rules, again, to me, Sarah, it looks like window dressing. We're dealing with a prison problem. No, you're not. You're going soft on criminals, aren't you? That's the reality.
Yeah, they're going soft on criminals, but they're trying also to free up prison spaces. This is the wrong way round.
Well, get rid of foreign criminals then. It's not difficult.
Oh, this is another one. So let me tell you, the other thing is that basically what I've just said removes the power of the magistrates to do any custodial sentence at all. So the magistrates are left with community orders only, none of which work anymore because the probation service is under-resourced and underfunded. The defendants come in, and they're so wise to it now, so they plead anxiety and depression, which means they can't do any unpaid work.
I love this woman.
And then they all tell me they're on universal credit, which means the maximum fine they can get is £40. So as a magistrate, you're absolutely tied. You can do nothing with these individuals.
Do you not feel like when you look at this piece of legislation, and more strength to your elbow about what you and Reform are doing with it, do you not feel like we're saying to criminals increasingly in this country that bad behaviour is acceptable, that actually, because we're so on our backsides in terms of everything, why we haven't built more prisons? I mean, I'd go the other way, and people think I'm for barking mad, but when I think about the billions which we'll talk about that we're due to spend on net zero, I'd be building new prisons, and I'd be going the other way and saying if you get given 5 years, it means 5 years, and if you misbehave whilst you're serving your sentence, you can stay in there for longer. I don't agree with, you've been given 10 years, you can be out after 6. It makes a mockery.
It's a disgrace, but it's worse than that. So in this bill, another clause which I've put in to remove is that now you serve half of your sentence. Under this new bill, it will go down to, in the bill, serving only a third of your sentence.
It's just ludicrous,
It's an absolute disgrace, Jeremy. But what's important to say here is that is for criminals that are, these are dangerous criminals in receipt of custodial sentences of up to 4 years. You know, this is a very, very dangerous precedent to set. And even worse than that, it includes child, paedophiles. It includes sexual assault. It's a really, really dangerous bill, and potentially even rapists can get out without serving their sentence. So this is a betrayal of the safety of women and girls. So in this bill, so much is hidden. And yes, what Reform would do is build more prisons, but we would also, as you mentioned earlier, deport all foreign national offenders. And the reason I want to mention that is because, again, Labour listen to everything that us Reform politicians say. And in this bill, there is the removal of any foreign criminal that gets up to that gets 6 months or over of a custodial sentence. But do you know what's happened? David Lammy, our wonderful Justice Secretary, wrote to all the MPs and said, but they can still use the ECHR, the Refugee Convention, the Human Rights Bill to appeal those decisions. And we all know what that means. No one is going to go home, are they?
Sorry, we're just watching pictures of Nicolas Sarkozy, the ex-French Prime Minister. He's president, actually. He's just heading to jail. I find it, fair play to you and Reform, you specifically, 10 amendments. You've got to face... have you been allowed a question today, or have you got to wait for them to deign you important enough to do a question, or are you down to speak?
I will be speaking. I'm down to speak, and I have a thumping speech on all of this, as you would imagine, Jeremy.
Are you nervous? Do you get nervous during those moments?
No, I absolutely, it's what I'm here to do, to be the voice of people, the voice of the British public that clearly, are not going to spend, like I did, the whole weekend looking and studying this bill, but they need to know what's in this bill. They need to know what's going on in their parliament. And of course, this bill's going to go through, Jeremy, because of their majority, but it's an absolute betrayal of the safety of the British public. And you know that ring rob thing that you were talking about just now. Well,
yes, well, he needs to answer that as well, doesn't he?
Let's ring Rob, because for 14 years, you know, what did they do about this? They've let this happen.
Could you do me a favour? Could you do me a favour? I'm going to record the question. So when I say 3, I want you to say, hello, ring Rob. This is Sarah Poachin from Reform, and then you can set your question, and I'll do it, because I think you're absolutely right. 3, 2, 1, go.
No, Rob, what the hell were you doing for the last 14 years? Because you, as much as this Labour government, have betrayed the British people when it comes to our justice system.
How are you going to answer that, ring Rob? He's on at 9. He's going to get it right back. Well, no, but you're absolutely right. And the important thing that we should make this point to people about politicians who are in opposition, the job that Reform and other politicians do, is you're there to hold the government to account. And this bill, you know, you might see the news headlines, oh, this bill, this bill. There's stuff in this that makes no sense. And as a magistrate, Sarah is quite right in saying people need to know the exact truth of what's going on. I salute you. You don't have to shoot off quite yet, do you? Do you prefer me in the... No, I'm joking. Now, let's talk about the other thing yesterday, because slightly strange day on drive time. It started with the shocking news that Never Hear Kia is going on his 40th trip in 16 months on Kia Force One. He's going to Brazil, where they spent millions destroying a rainforest so they can build a road and a runway so they can all fly their you try saying guzzling jets in, and all sit there and go, oh, the climate's going to kill us all. I mean, there is so much going on in this country that's wrong, and he's off on another jolly. Priorities are all wrong, Sarah, aren't they?
Well, he's off because he knows full well that the British people have absolutely had enough of him. And I genuinely mean this. I hear it every day, every minute of every day. People say to me, when can we have a general election? I mean, look, you can't even televise the darts match anymore, can you, without the crowd shouting, I can't repeat it, but what it shouts about Keir Starmer.
She watched it. It was the darts. They were playing darts and the crowd was shouting. What were they shouting, Christian? They were implying that he was a financial human being, is all I'm saying.
But the point is, you know, he's going abroad, isn't he? He's not standing in Parliament answering to the British people because he doesn't want to. He's the most unpopular Prime Minister that we've seen in this country. And quite frankly, I think most people of most political parties would very much welcome a general election way sooner than the next 4 years.
I have a fervent belief. So I have a fervent belief that his own, and they tell me it doesn't happen. I don't care. I believe that the Labour Party will start to look and go, I think he's gone to COP for a different reason, by the way. I don't think he's gone to escape because, look, Trump humiliated him and he knows even internationally he's a joke. I think he's looked at what's happening with the voting intentions of the British public and probably wiped away the Reform vote and thought, I can't get them back. So when I look at the man, Roman Polanski's son, Zach Polanski or something, I can't have him either.
That idiot that does the hypnosis.
Well, honestly, this is a man, the head of the Greens. We might as well have this out and be honest. This is a man who used to be a hypnotist who would tell women I can make their breasts grow. Personally, I think that he should have hypnotised his dentist because it didn't bleed and work, did it? But anyway, the Greens are on the rise. This is how I see it. And the Liberal Democrats are sort of barking mad. And then we've got the Fruit and Nut Party are on the way. And I think Starmer is going to COP30 to touch his cap to that side of the vote in the hope that they will move back to Labour. I think this says as much about how he realises the threat of reform is real. And I just think it sums the man up because, you know, he just seems to want to go. There's no strategy. It's just I'll go where I think it's going to work. I mean, you can argue, you know, COP is a waste of money. And then you look at the fact the grooming gangs inquiry that's in the newspapers all throughout this morning. You know, he had to be dragged to agreeing a grooming inquiry. Now 2 of the victims have already walked out saying it's going to be a Labour cover-up. It's a disgrace. There's so much going on here.
It's a betrayal because let's not forget Jess Phillips was nowhere near front of facing. You know, when it came to bringing that grooming gangs inquiry to fruition, and it hasn't started yet. And they're talking about the chair of the grooming gangs inquiry either being a social worker or I think a former police officer.
Yeah.
Now, both of those both of those institutions have let down endless victims of grooming gangs that are still going on. And this is not something that has happened only in the past. This is something that is still going on. Girls and possibly young boys as well, but certainly girls are being abused, they're being raped, they're being drugged. This is still going on.
And you know, I have to say this.
Brought to account.
I have to say this, and again, I salute your party in the work that you're doing on this. I don't have to agree with everything every party says, but what I find abhorrent about this, and I said it at 7 and I said it at 6, and I'll still keep saying it because I don't care. I don't care the colour of your skin, your race, your creed or your religion. If we as a society, whoever those institutions or those individuals are, and it's not just this Prime Minister, by the way, this has gone on for goddamn years. If we as a society are prepared to turn a blind eye to young innocent girls having their lives traumatised forever because men are allowed, willing, able, whatever, to sexually abuse them, and our society covers that up, I think that is an absolute disgrace. And one of the things Reform should do if it gets power is it should spend its entire time in office trying to track down and prosecute these vile human beings. I don't want them in my society as a father of young. I don't understand how anybody can turn a blind eye. I think it's a disgrace, Sarah, a massive disgrace.
It makes me feel really sick to think about the fact that these victims have been effectively written off, haven't they, by the police, by the social workers, as as just being almost fodder for these men. And let's face it, there are accusations that police were involved themselves in abusing these girls. So how do you get to rinse out these vile individuals and bring them to justice? The only way to do it is to not hide behind the sort of like racism thing that we can't do this because we'll be accused of being racist. Nonsense.
What
These
about
men
the
are
innocence of an
vile
8-year-old
individuals.
girl being abused? As I repeat, I don't care where you come from or what you've done. That is abhorrent behaviour. And just to finish, this is why I have such a problem with our Prime Minister. Going off to Brazil is one thing. But you've got a grooming gangs inquiry that you patently are not into. You're having people arrested for non-crime hate, although the Met will say something else, but they're still going to record it. You're going to put a bill through Parliament that says if you attack somebody, you only have to serve 30% of your time. You borrowed another 20 billion last month because you can't add up. All of these things, and he sods off to Brazil. I can't have it. Can you do me a favour, by the way? Brilliant today, absolutely brilliant, and make sure you hold their feet to the fire, whatever they say. And you have to ask Lammy a question. Why don't you pretend it's Mastermind? Shall I provide some music for you? And you go, Mr. Lammy, let me ask you questions about your bill, because he won't know, will he? He's an idiot.
He won't have a clue. He never answers the question I put to him. In fact, he looks absolutely horrified when I get on my feet, so I'll be looking forward to that today.
Listen, great to have you on. Let's get you back on and find out how it all went, but thank you very much indeed. Sarah Pochin, Reforms MP, Reforms UK MP for Runcorn and Helsby, of course, attacking quite rightly that bill today, sentencing bill that's going through the Commons, that basically says, you only had to serve 60% of your time. We now just let you do 30%, doesn't matter. And if you're found with a knife, which is a year, you won't have to go to prison, because it's really important that we free up prison space. Is it wrong to suggest that actually, rather than spending barking amounts of money on ridiculous things, we should build more prisons, ladies and gentlemen, new prisons, right? And we should say to people who commit crimes in our society, OK, you're going to jail for the exact time that is merited by the crime you've committed. What am I going to the break with? Is this a video? What does this mean? He's with his convoy, was he? This is Keir Starmer. This is how popular Keir Starmer really is. He's travelling in London. Have a watch.
Keir Starmer's a Starmer! Keir Starmer's a That's some deer driving around in London.
It's like being at the darts. They've started using that dreadful word. Right, 8:25. We're live across the UK. Whatever you want to talk about. 0344 499 1000. We're back in 3. I'm off for a wee.
Some breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain?
Yeah.
Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Tuesday morning, the 21st of October. We're live across the UK. JK for MG on breakfast, if you want to be on. 0344 499 1000. Michael Tomlinson, good morning. He says, Jez, so the Met Police will no longer investigate non-hate crime. I don't understand what a non-crime hate is. I don't know. So you will never know if you're on a list somewhere because someone took umbrage over an off-the-cuff remark you might have made until, of course, you apply for a job that requires an enhanced DBS check. Reminds me of the East German state. I couldn't agree more. So you'll have heard the announcement this morning that on the basis of Graham Linehan being released, and we're dropping that case in the Met Police, we are not going to investigate non-crime hate crimes. What? But they are going to record it, and he's absolutely right, that bloke. That means it'll still be on your record. Tina says, Jez, you're forgetting these wind farms are going to need maintenance. The top weighs 2 tons without the blades. Think of the cost. I hate that. Have you seen them things? What's the point of that? It's really windy today. Right, well, let's store it. Oh, we can't. We've got to turn them off because they might fall over. How much is that going to cost? Millions. It's not windy at all today. We're not making enough of it going round, so we're going to have to import the electricity. How did anybody think that was a good idea? Sean's in Stoke. Somebody's got to be. That's a joke, Sean. Have a sense of humour. Stick Prince Andrew in Birmingham. Don't you start. Barry. Oh, lovely. Why did I do that? He might not be in Wales. If our troops deploy to Ukraine, they can rest assured that Starmer and Healy will be right behind them, about 15,000 miles away. Anthony, or is it Anthony? Never quite know what's right. He says, sad reality is how likely will anyone want to join the army if the government treat veterans like muck. Massive respect to all veterans. Jez, you're a legend. Obviously, he's on some illegal substance. There we go. 0344 499 1000 to the phone lines in London. Nigel, good morning. Welcome to Morning Glory.
And good morning. I'm so glad it's not windy today, Jeremy, because my mullet would be blown out of shape and my public wouldn't like it. But there you are.
Nothing wrong with a mullet, me old son. Mine's stuck on and I'm not going out in the wind today either. What you got for me, kiddo?
Well, I listening to Peter, yourself, and, of course, the ongoing scenario about the failure of Mark Rowley and the failure of Sadiq Khan, who both continually and repeatedly let London down. They should both resign. Now, I'm a photojournalist and I see these guys quite regularly. Mark Rowley hides from the press. He doesn't want to be photographed and he doesn't do his job. He's a total and utterly disgrace. And for a mayor of London to hide and not answer questions by someone in the chamber about grooming gangs and trying to belittle her, to try and embarrass her when children are being raped and attacked and abused is shameful. He should go as well. We're paying for Sadiq Khan as a Londoner through my taxes, and he doesn't represent me. And, of course, let's not forget that Mark Rowley is a man appointed by the Home Office. And how useless are the Home Office? It's disgraceful.
I couldn't agree more. And Rowley yesterday, or Rowley, or whatever you want to call him, he jumped on that bandwagon, didn't he? We're not going to investigate non-crime hate now when Linehan had to be released because it's farcical. I always want to say to somebody like Mark Rowley, and I'm not even getting involved with Sadiq Khan, he's just an Egypt, but Mark Rowley, right? He replaced Cressida Dick. They thought she was bad. Surely, me old son, the idea is to stop point scoring and virtue signalling and catch some bloody criminals and make sure that people who commit crime are brought to justice. But then today in the Commons we've got the sentencing bill, which is going to say that if you've been given a sentence for a crime, in the end, in this mad country of ours, you'll only have to serve 30%, Nige. It's a nightmare. Listen, thank you for your call. Really appreciate it. More on that. If you want to talk about that or anything, 0344 499 1000. We're going to say a very good morning to the Deputy Political Editor of The Sun, Ryan Saby. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Oh, your heart. Look at you. sort of half dark. You look like Voldemort, mate. What's going? Lights going on there? Brilliant. I want to talk to you about page 12 of the Sun today. Fantastic. Met Chief on Gun Cops Crisis. This is written by your crime editor, Mike Sullivan. A lot has been made about Mark Rowley over the last 24 hours because, of course, on the basis of Graham Linehan's case being dropped, he's jumped out and said, we're not going to investigate crime, hate crime anymore. But you are still going to have that on your record, aren't you, Ryan?
It could be interesting to see how this actually works out, because I'd like to actually press the Metropolitan Police a little bit further on this. The fact that a case is going to be recorded, how much detail are they actually going to hold on that individual person? Because, you know, they're going to have to make a decision whether this incident is a non-crime hate incident or not.
Absolutely.
They're going to have to hold records as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what level of detail they keep and remain on record, and how long that stays with the Metropolitan Police or any police force up and down the country. So let's just see what happens with that.
It's interesting to me that he very much seems to be, unless I'm missing the point, and not that I've ever spoken to him, rather in tune with a government who seem to throw things out whether a focus group's told them to. I never get the feeling that a lot that comes out of Starmer's mouth is from inside, is part of his DNA. It's just how will people see it. The same with Rowley. I thought the timing was interesting. There's a great piece by Mike Sullivan today. Given that they are confronting criminals and terrorists, the fact the legal danger is often a greater spectre is perverse. This is about the Met Chief on gun cops crisis, because we've seen, haven't we, cops in this country that are armed have to take action against people and then end up going to court and being treated as if they're the pariahs and they're just trying to do their jobs, right?
Yeah, it's really concerning, this. We need the very, very best police officers on our streets protecting us, and the last figures seem to show there are around 2,500 firearms officers in the Met. Now, this seems like it's, you know, just about stable and around the numbers that they need. But the trouble is, and the point that Mark Rowley is trying to make here, is they face so many different sort of disciplinary measures. They face criminal, sort of internal disciplinary issues, and then they can also face sort of sanctions or trouble at an inquest. So I think what Mark Rowley is trying to do is try and streamline this a bit, and also make sure that these problems are not dragged out over years and years and years. You've had
How
one
can you
case
do your job if confronted by some gun-wielding thug, and as you raise your gun to protect yourself or the people that are in the vicinity, you're worried that you're going to spend 3 to 5 years being investigated and ultimately being taken from your family and thrown in prison? It's a complete joke.
Yeah, that cannot be in your mind when you're thinking about how to protect your safety as the police officer, the safety of your colleagues, and the safety of the public. You cannot have that second thought, because that is going to delay and cloud your judgment. So I think it's quite an important intervention in this, and I sort of think that the numbers, as you know, they may be just about right at the moment and just about the numbers that are required. But what we've seen over recent years, trying to recruit extra people into it, is going to be really, really troublesome in the coming years.
Really, really interesting, guys. Article today about the Met Police Chief, Mike Sullivan, the Sun's crime editor, on page 12. You know, you knew you were going to get this question, Ryan Sobey. As the deputy political editor of the Sun, you spend an inordinate amount of time with high-ranking politicians. I've seen pictures of you all around the world. So I want you to answer this question truthfully, Sobey, despite the fact that half of your face is covered. Will you, sir, be travelling to Brazil with the Prime Minister for COP30, because they've spent millions of pounds destroying the Amazon rainforest so your private jet can fly? And will you be going there, Ryan, or will it be against your principles?
We are still deciding who gets the honour of travelling with the Prime Minister to Brazil. But I do think one thing that was interesting yesterday is the decision. They were holding off from making this decision. And it just shows the Prime Minister and Labour, they've been tacking to the right with reform, but they're a little bit worried about on their left flank, the Greens, those independents. They have to go to COP to appease those people.
Do you know, I am
I
am so with you. I think it's about the rise of the Greens. I think it's about the Fruit and Nut Party. I also think it's about the people in his own party. And I think he's almost looked at the reform thing and gone, I don't think I'm going to get that back. I've tried to play the racist card and the far right card, so I need to shore up the support that I've got there. I think you're absolutely right. And of course it makes a mockery, doesn't it? I mean, you know, you're politically switched on far more than me. But he seems to juggle the whole time, which is why the criticism of Starmer, I think, stands firm, which is there's nothing authentic about you, mate. There's nothing in your DNA. I feel like you're going there to score points. You're saying that to score points. You're making that decision to placate people. Doesn't want to have bad news. Spends so much time trying to do the right thing that he hacks all the people off all the time, in my humble.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big problems what Sakir has got, and I think that's one of the big problems with him. You know, coming into politics quite late, he spent obviously a lot of his, most of his, professional career in the legal profession. He's not kind of one of those professional politicians and maybe has the instinct. And I think one of the problems that brings on, he's never had this sort of big, overarching instinct for politics and what his big vision is. It seems to be sort of very practical. So I think that is, people don't know where he's coming from, mainly because that sort of vision has not really sort of been spelled out. We've had missions, we've had goals, we've had all sorts of things. But I've kind of lost track of where we are with that. So,
but I should tell you, because Keith Forrest has just texted that you need to make a push to go to COP30, okay? Because the day after COP30, Starmer will then be flying to Johannesburg for the G20 meeting. So you could do Brazil and South Africa all in 3 days. Just think of your carbon footprint. Be marvellous, wouldn't it?
Exactly, those air miles. Right, I'll be on to the powers that be this morning.
So will I for you. Thank you so much indeed. Top man, Ryan Saby, Deputy Political Editor of The Sun, 20 minutes to 9 o'clock. We'll go to an ad break. Paula on Sakir, never hear Starmer.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Paula in Liverpool here. I can't believe Not Here Kia has disappeared off to COP. Well, I can believe it, really. But what a waste of time. All of the problems we've got going on here, and it's not like he's left anyone capable in charge behind to deal with them, is it? What a load of nonsense. And all this COP business, it's arrant nonsense. When it was in Dubai, we were staying with friends and their daughter really wanted to go, so we went along for the day. Waste of time. Even the food and drink that they serve was all on plastic, disposable stuff. You'd think they'd be able to get that right at a sustainability conference, wouldn't you? Thanks, Jeremy. Paula in Liverpool.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, Julia is here. Oh, there you go. Slightly premature, no change then. Julia's here from 10 o'clock this morning, of course. We've also got Robert Jenrick, Shadow Justice Secretary. We've got a new feature on Morning Glory. You see him there in all his glory. Robert Jenrick is going to join the show. It's a brand new monthly phone-in called Ring Rob. Yes, I know. Honestly, people sat down and went, let's have a brainstorming. So what do you think we should call a show that involves Robert Jenrick being called Ring Rob? Ring Rob. Very good idea. Anyway, if you have a question you'd like to put to him, or me to put to him, or whatever, Sarah Poachin from Reform's already recorded one. 0344 499 1000. You can text the show as well, 87222. Christina says, Jez, troops on the ground, Starmer's fodder. As soon as the first body bag comes back, the country will go nuts. This government is dangerous. Nice to see you in the mornings. Mark in Selby. That's not Mark Selby, the snooker player. Mark in Selby, he says, never mind sending British forces to Ukraine. We should keep whatever military we have at home to help the clearly weak police forces in dealing with any potential civil disorder caused by sectarian division. Anyone who reads the papers or views MSM can see and feel the anger out there. But burying important matters such as the rape gang inquiry and blatant anti-Semitism does not help calm things down. Wake up, Kia. Steve Smedley, what a great name that is. All right, Smedders, I think our armed forces commanders may have to consider refusing to accept orders from this incompetent fool who's giving away the sovereignty of the territory their men and women protect, and now maybe wants to put them deliberately in harm's way in Ukraine, or they'll be targeted and killed in someone else's war. Couldn't agree more. 0344 499 1000. The other main news story across the beginning of the week was when the safety committee in Birmingham decided that the Israeli football team Maccabi Tel Aviv's fans couldn't travel to Aston Villa, to Birmingham, for a European tie in a couple of weeks because it would be dangerous. This caused an outcry. People were saying football hooliganism is patently wrong, but it's, I'm afraid, almost everywhere. Why are you targeting just an Israeli team? Is this part of anti-Semitism? It's fundamentally wrong. Our government, in all their glory, stood up yesterday, Lisa Nandy, and said, we disagree, but we're not going to do anything about it. We'll leave it to the police. We say a very good morning to Ben Dorey, Israel advocate and international campaigner. Ben, good morning. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Do you agree with what I just said, that all football hooliganism is wrong, but actually, to me, this is a very good example of let's just target the Jewish team or the Israeli team or whatever, however way you describe it? I'm not condoning any form of hooliganism at all, but it seems to me to be picking on one particular part of the problem.
I completely agree with that, and I don't think this happens for football teams either from Britain or for other countries. Just for example, you know, we've seen the independent MP Iqbal Mohammed calling for the Israeli fans to be banned. And I think if he'd said, for example, that, just to pick a random example, the Pakistani government have displaced 1 million Afghans, therefore Pakistani sports fans shouldn't be allowed to come and watch games in this country. And if he called them hooligans and terrorists who are running riot in this country, I think people would take significant objection to that. But as usual, it's one rule for every other country in the world, and it's a different rule for Israel. And people are willing to put up with discrimination of Israelis who just happen to be born in a country through no choice of their own that's seen as much more acceptable. And you have to then look at anti-Semitism, because it can be no coincidence that the only Jewish state in the world is the only special exception for treatment like this.
I have to, I don't know, have we spoken before? I'm sorry, I'm 60, I tend to forget, but you might not be interested, but I am stronger on this than anything. I, as a father, look at Gaza, I don't like what I see, but I also have many Jewish friends, and I find it utterly appalling, okay? Not appalling, because there isn't a racist bone in my body, right? But I would love somebody to have the balls to say to me that in this country there isn't an imbalance. Any racism is abhorrent, but anybody who doesn't understand the sheer viciousness of anti-Semitism. I've got friends, I say it every day, whose kids can't go on the bus in their blazers for fear of retribution. I've got Jewish friends Palestinians who basically want to leave this country because they don't feel safe. Anti-Semitism is as deplorable as any other racism, and until this country and this world wakes up to that and understands there are people who deliberately target the Israeli and the Jewish communities, we are not in a good place. And I will be slaughtered online, and I couldn't give a fat rat's ass, to be perfectly honest. I am not against any form of racism. Anti-Semitism is in that category. 1 million.
I completely agree, and we've not spoken before, but I'm very familiar with your great support for Jewish
people. But it really annoys me. I don't understand. I find it really. Of course, Gaza's awful. I get all of that. The Second World War was. I just feel it's so wrong that Israeli people can be treated so badly. And seemingly that's not. It's like the grooming gangs inquiry. Let's just avoid talking about 8-year-old girls being sexually assaulted because it doesn't look good. No, it bloody well doesn't look good, and it should be called out, as should anti-Semitism. Sorry, that's me on my soapbox.
No, absolutely. And you talk about it being an issue for Jewish people and for Israelis, and of course it is. But I think it's an issue for all British people because, we've lost control of the streets already. We're now losing control over our sports stadiums. And it should really be a hint that if it's not safe for Jewish people and Israelis to go and watch this match, that should be a sign that we need to crack down on the extremism. And
let's be honest, is it Ayub Khan, the independent MP for Birmingham, who stood up in the Commons yesterday and made a speech that many would say is anti-Semitic, and then Zara Sultana from the U Party, there he is doing his speech, and Lisa Nandy, this is my point, Lisa Nandy, fair play to her, stood up and said, I don't agree with these two, it's anti-Semitic, but the government should go further. Don't wash your hands with a police force that won't make a decision. This is completely unacceptable. This isn't condoning football hooliganism. It's saying, do you know what, Starmer? Oh, I don't like it. I don't like them being anti-Semitic. Well, do something about it, you idiot. Listen, I've ranted long enough. Ben, you know where I stand on this, and to me it's common sense, and I hope that the more we talk about things like this, and let's be honest, nothing against Ayub Khan, but he's playing to his audience. The Labour Party are playing to their audience. What about playing to the audience that wants the truth and wants decency and normality in its country? That's what I try for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's this topic is being weaponized like everything else that's been to do with this issue. And I think it's welcome that the government have said they'll try and do what they can on this, but they've not done enough, particularly in the last 2 years, to crack down on the extremism on our streets. And they've made, their own incredibly cynical gestures regarding this conflict, such as the way that they recognize the Palestinian state as pure appeasement. And I think we're setting a really dangerous precedent here, because what we're saying is we're going to ban the people being intimidated rather than those doing the intimidation. And this isn't the only topic that extremist Islamists are angry about. And if we set that precedent, that if you're just violent enough or threaten enough violence, you get your way, we're going to start seeing this happening more in more places and being weaponized on issues far beyond Jewish people and the Israel-Palestine conflict.
Completely agree. It's a great pleasure to speak to you. Ben Dorey, thank you. Israeli advocate and international campaigner. You are with Morning... you are with Morning Glory. JK, here till 10. Don't worry, not long to go. We're back in 3.
We're going to select a random family, give them billions of pounds, 7 palaces and castles. They'll live for free. They'll get first-class lifestyles forever. They'll holiday in the world's most luxurious locations, and then their kids will inherit the whole thing and it will start over again. They will want for nothing, ever. In exchange, they'll wave the flag for the country, press the flesh with a few world leaders, hold some banquets. Oh, and they'll get paid for all of this, by the way. No one would vote for that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, 5 to 9. Time for a bit of sport. Have you got a sport jingle, or are we going straight to it? Go! No, you haven't got a sport jingle. Right, a very good morning to the senior sports journalist and football reporter at The Sun, Jordan Davis. How are you, Jordan?
Good morning, I'm very well. How are you?
Well, not very good, obviously, because I'm a West Ham fan, so just give it to me. Come on, we're going to be relegated with crap, aren't we?
Yeah, they're reaching new lows right now. 1 win from opening 8, and actually it's their worst ever home start to a league season ever in their entire history. 4 straight home defeats. They've never started a campaign that badly, and they go to Leeds at the weekend, which is already looking like
they go to Leeds on Friday, mate. He's got 4 days. Why can't I see Jordan? Why have I only got a picture of me sideways? Let's have a look. Oh, camera issues. Jordan, we're going on Friday, aren't we, to Leeds?
Friday you are indeed, yeah, and that's already looking like a relegation decider.
I couldn't agree more. I watched Santos last night, and I just thought you no idea at all. Let's woeful start. Let's just talk about the big news this hour. My friend Sean Dyche, ex-Burnley manager, of course, was Everton for 2 years. He's just signed a new contract. He is the new head coach of Nottingham Forest. Ange Postecoglou lasted 39 days. Dyche has signed a 2-year contract. What do you make of that?
Well, it just shows you how terrified Forest are of actually being relegated. I mean, similarly to West Ham, the start has been really poor, and you really, Sean Dyche, terrified of going this far to things, and it's just a massive mess. And he's their 3rd manager of the season, and the owner Marinakis has really tried to shake things up, and it's really backfired.
Maybe I'm going to sound really wrong here. Hear me out. Everybody says Marinakis is a nightmare, he lives at Olympiacos, blah, blah, blah. But he bought a massive number of players for Nuno Espirito Santos, and when he said he was 4 short, he bought them as well. They have an amazing squad there. I'm not saying the guy is easy to work for, but going public as Nuno did wasn't a great look. Yes, Ange Postecoglou I never thought fitted, and you're right, Sean Dyche is probably only a temporary thing until they get Marco Silva. That would be my humble opinion. But a bit like West Ham, you have this great belief, let's go and play expansive football, and you lose all the strides you've made forward. Ludicrous.
Yeah, Nuno was very bold in coming out against Marinakis, and I think Marinakis has always wanted that sort of flair manager instead of Nuno. That's why Ange was brought in. That didn't work, and you're right, Marco Silva was spoken to ahead of appointing Sean Dyche, but they can't get him yet, so they're going to try and get him next summer
when his contract runs out. Jose Mourinho, we love Jose. Tonight, Newcastle. Sean Custis will be there. He's gone home, Sean, as head of sport at the Sun, to watch Newcastle against Benfica. Jose back at Benfica. Is he doing? I haven't seen domestically. Is he doing all right at Benfica, Mourinho?
He's done okay. He's won a few games. It hasn't been fantastic, but I think they're just loving the whole narrative around him being back and being back in Portugal. And it's now a chance for him to return. Well, not return, but go to a club which he loves dearly because of the old Sir Bobby Robson. I mean, he worked under him at Barcelona as an assistant, always had great admiration for him, and has actually spoken that he actually wouldn't want to go and manage Newcastle at some point in his career because he'd had too much respect for what Bobby did there. But he calls himself a little magpie, a real fan.
Do you know what? I don't care what anybody tells me. I wish he'd come back to the Premier League. I think he's amazing. I think he makes so much of a good point for so many of us. We Really appreciate help. Jordan Davis, reporter at The Sun. West Ham are going down. Sean Dyche is the new manager of Forest, and Jose Mourinho's Benfica at the Toon tonight at St James's Park, taking on Newcastle in the Champions League. All of that on a sister station, talkSPORT. Right, it's almost 9. Ring Rob, Robert Jenrick, Shadow Justice Secretary, here for a monthly phone-in show that's going to be a regular feature on Morning Glory. 0344 499 1000. Ring Rob is next, but right now, my friends, Morning Glory does the news at 9. Back at...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning, welcome back, you lucky, lucky people. Just gone 9 o'clock, we're live across the UK on the home of free speech and common sense. This is Talk, JK till 10, Julia there, but, ladies and gentlemen, time for a brand new feature with a very important politician, Justice Secretary Robert J.
I'm honoured to be here and to have you.
We've never worked together.
Is this going to be the first and last time?
I've no idea. That was very northern. Now, before we go, I have been saying all morning, I'm not being disrespectful, Rob. I'd have thought that we could have come up with something slightly more creative. We've got a voice note. Will, go.
Hi, Jezza. It's Will from Portsmouth. Looking forward to the new show with Robert Jenrick, but surely not Ring Rob. It should have been Jenrick Inquiries.
Very clever. Anyway, we're not
like
calling
it
it that because we made a jingle. Push it. Are we pushing it?
Ring Rob with Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick on Talk.
Robert, thank you so much indeed for this. Loads of people calling, loads of people texting. Let's start with an hour ago. Sarah Pochin was here. It's the sentencing bill tonight in the Commons. This is from Sarah in Croydon. Would you please ask Robert Jenrick if he intends to support Reform UK and Sarah Pochin's 10 amendments to the Justice Bill being proposed today? And she asked that because Sarah came on and explained in great detail that the 10 amendments, basically, if you have a knife, if you get fined, you get 12 months. Under these rules, if you get 5 years, you'll only be serving about 30% of your sentence. And this government's idea of dealing with our prison problem is to let criminals out, which sends a most ridiculous message, doesn't it, to the criminal world?
It does. Look, I think this bill is a total disgrace, and I'm happy to work with absolutely anyone.
Would you support Sarah Pochin's amendments later?
Yeah, I'll take a look at them. I don't know if they'll be called to a vote. There are not many votes, the way these things work in Parliament. But in fact, there are Reform MPs, I think all the Reform MPs, including Sarah, I believe, who signed up to an amendment that we've put down, which says that we should put all of the data out there on crime by nationality, visa status, asylum status, so we can finally know what's the truth. You know, are people coming into this country and fueling crime? And if so, how do we fix that? Let's create an immigration system that's very different so that maybe you don't let in so many people from parts of the world with a high likelihood to commit serious crimes. So we'll work with anyone, trust me, who shares our determination. And what the bill, as I think Sarah has said on the show, does is just lets thousands of people out of prison for ludicrously short sentences.
What is the point of saying to people, you've committed a crime and it's 5 years, but you know what? Because our prisons are flooded with foreign criminals and because we've got a justice system that seems to wipe the backside of the perpetrators and not the victims, we're going to let you out. Why not actually go on the other way and say, if I give you 5 years, you're serving 5 years, that's it?
I totally agree with you. And they're saying, oh, well, if you're not a thug in prison, you know, if you play by the rules, then you get out maybe having served as little as a third of your sentence. Ridiculous. Well, how about you just behave properly in prison? And if you don't behave well in prison, you actually serve more time.
I'm old-fashioned and older than you. Prison was supposed to be a punishment.
That's right.
No, unbelievable.
I mean, this is completely... I'll just give you an example of how, just so you know, your listeners understand how bad this is. There could be someone who had raped a child, aged 13 or younger, so a young child, and they would be serving just a third of their sentence. They might be serving as little as 3 years. Imagine, and I've got 3 daughters, imagine if that was one of your children and
don't want to ask me
the vile rapist serves 3 years.
We've got it so wrong in this country. Right, so opening up the phone lines. In Hertfordshire, Andrew, good morning, welcome to Morning Glory. You are through to Robert Jenrick.
Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Jeremy. The question is very straightforward. Why is that MP that said the statements about Mackay Tel Aviv not being charged with inciting racial hatred? If I were to say, pick any ethnic group and say something derogatory about them, I would be charged with that, and quite rightly so, put before a court.
Let me put this on so that people understand. Ayub Khan is the independent MP for a part of Birmingham, a man who didn't stand on any platform for the people of Birmingham, but stood on the Gaza platform, stood up in the Commons yesterday. This is because, for people tuning in, a group of people, authorities, Robert, in Birmingham, decided that Israeli football fans, Maccabi Tel Aviv, shouldn't travel. Make the point, as we all do, hooliganism wrong.
Absolutely.
But why are you just targeting one group? Ayub Khan and Zara Sultana from the Fruit and Nut Party were both called by Lisa Nandy yesterday that they were being anti-Semitic. He makes a really good point, Andrew. Why is that not being clamped down on? Disgraceful rhetoric.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And what an absolutely crying shame that we've now got these essentially sectarian members of Parliament, Islamist members of Parliament, sitting in the House of Commons. That is such a stain on Parliament. And there's every chance, unless we address this, that there'll be more of these after the next election. Maybe there'll be 10, there'll be 20, there'll be 30 of these people. And it's completely changing our politics. Because as you say, they're not really interested in Birmingham. They're not talking about how you fix the bin strike.
No, in Erdington, where I live,
you get you know, the schools or the hospitals fixed. They're talking about Gaza or Pakistan.
And I would respectfully suggest, Andrew, and to you, Rob, that the reason that our appalling Prime Minister does so much of what he does is because he's terrified, we better not say that, we'll upset people, of losing a certain vote, which is why I think he behaves as he does.
Well, I don't know if you remember, a week or so ago, I said, or there was some leaked audio footage of me saying that there was a major problem with integration in that part of Birmingham.
Yeah, but they cut what you said quite cleverly,
they did. Yeah. But nonetheless, I stand by what I said, that there's a failure of integration in places like Handsworth, Aston, parts of Birmingham. I know quite well. I grew up in Wolverhampton.
That's where I started my career, Aston.
There you go.
BRMB, mate.
Local lad. But Ayub Khan and Keir Starmer both came out and slated me for saying that. They said that part of Birmingham, absolute model of diversity, it's kind of paradise on earth. And yet, a week after I made those comments and they slated me, the police in the West Midlands are basically saying that part of Birmingham isn't safe for Jews, whether they're coming over from Israel as football fans or whether they're British Jews who might happen to support this team. Obviously, there is a massive failure of integration in that part of the city.
Completely agree.
We've got to tackle it.
And
people like Keir Starmer just burying their heads in the sand.
Got a question from Tarquin in London. You through to Robert Jenrick. Morning, Tarquin.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Jeremy.
Good morning.
Quick question. Quick question for you guys. Robert, to you first. If in the likely event that the Conservative Party are polling as low in 2029 as they are currently, will you join the Reform Party?
Look, I don't think there's going to be a pact or a deal. Our leader, Kemi, has said that she's not in the business of doing that. Nigel has said the same, that he doesn't want to do a pact or a deal with the Conservatives. So that's not the priority right now. What the Tory party's got to do is actually win back the trust of the British public.
Do you know what Ian Duncan Smith said to me the other day, which I thought was really interesting? He said the best we can do right now is getting the public to actually listen to us.
Well,
I think that's a very interesting
I think that's
point.
fair. Look, the Tory party lost the general election. It suffered its worst ever election defeat. Why?
Because the British people stopped listening.
We didn't do what we said we were going to do. We said we would secure our borders. Instead, the ministers at the time created an immigration system massively more liberal than the one we had when we were in the EU. Taxes are too high. The public services aren't working properly. Most people feel our country is in a bit of a mess at the moment. They feel hard up and they think that nothing is really working. And the last Conservative government contributed to that. Things have got worse, without question, under Starmer and Reeves, but nonetheless, we made some big mistakes. So the path back for the Tory party is to be painfully honest about those mistakes, fess up to it, and then bring forward serious answers.
I've got a question for you. You know me, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I like what you say because I know that you know, one of the criticisms of Robert people is that, you know, last government, Robert Jenrick, but this was one of the few politicians who walked out of his job in the Home Office because he was so disappointed. And people said, oh, he'll swing with the wind. Well, actually, you were in the Home Office and you discovered how appalling it was and you fell on your sword, and respect to you for that. For me, I don't understand Kemi's approach. And you're not going to criticise your leader, but I have heard nothing in 15 months until the other day at the party conference. And I said to you off air, in that 15 months of we're going to have a review, right, when anybody with a brain cell will go, you messed up. As you've just said so clearly, that void has been jumped in by Nigel and Reform, who have been able to grab the pulse of the British people, and you face a difficult task now. And that's the issue. They needed to be more vocal at the time, in my humble.
Yeah, well, look, it was always going to be tough. You being leader of the opposition after you've suffered an election to be very hard.
Poison chalice.
You've got a mountain to climb, and I don't think it was going to be easy, whoever did the job. Obviously, the answer is you've got to change the Conservative Party as much as possible. Different people. You've got to be honest about the mistakes that were made. You've got to convince the public over time that we would never do those things again. Open borders? No way. You know, anyone who wants to defend what happened in the past on immigration should not be part of the Conservative Party. It's got to be a totally different proposition. And you're right, I do think that politics is a battle for attention. And so you've got to get out there, get stuck in, take up the issues that ordinary people across the country are raising, and at times shame the authorities into action. Opposition is not completely futile. You can get stuff done. I mean, look at the video I did not far from here in Stratford. Forced Sadiq Khan, of all people, to actually step up and try and fix the fare dodging on the tube.
I'm trying to get through the morning without
you
feeling
can get
sick.
stuff done.
Dave on text, do you believe that China pressurised Labour over the sellout on the Chagos Islands, and does this explain, Robert Jenrick, the government's position on the Chinese spy scandal? Interesting question.
Yeah, look, I think Starmer has been very weak on China. He's basically kowtowing to them, and the spy scandal is one of the worst examples of this. I mean, imagine this. You literally got some blokes who are alleged to have gone into our parliament and spied for China.
The very epicentre of our democracy, let's be honest.
Yeah, and the idea that they would then not even be prosecuted just astonishes me. And what we do know, there's a lot of, mystery about this, but I basically think the Prime Minister's lying, because I cannot believe that he didn't know what was going on here.
So for people, again, who weren't in there, we followed this for ages. So Jonathan Powell, who's a sort of Blairite, behind-the-scenes multi-millionaire who seems to be a bit of a puppet master, he's sort of the national security advisor. He came out, nothing to do with him. The Prime Minister, nobody in the Cabinet Office, and the National Security Advisor didn't know about this. Some underling, who's a civil servant, who nobody's ever heard of, apparently he, according to Starmer, made the decision to not prosecute these people and not answer the questions to the CPS without speaking to... I mean, that's rubbish, Rob.
They are treating you like a fool.
Yeah.
No one believes that whatsoever. I've not met anyone who privately believes that that's what actually happened. And the facts don't bear out. I mean, you've got the guy who created the witness statement in this case, the Deputy National Security Advisor, he literally copy and pasted from the Labour Party manifesto words into that. Are you saying that he just decided to do that himself, a civil servant, without someone like a politician or a special advisor like Jonathan Powell telling him to do that? I mean, pull the other one.
Why did Rob not answer the question, would you support the amendments put forward by Sarah Pochin? Rob, I think he did. You said you'd look at it.
Yeah, I definitely, if I can do, I will do. I'm not familiar with all of them, but we're working together. And as I say, it sounds like Reform and the Conservative Party are going to vote the same way tonight, and quite rightly so.
Michael's in Birmingham. You're through to Robert Jenrick. Michael, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, sorry about that. Good morning. Yeah, I've got a couple of questions for Mr. Jenrick. What would you do about removing activist judges? And what would you do about reversing perverse asylum decisions, like people who have got chicken nuggets? Would you just let those ride, or would you go back and review those decisions and get them right?
Question. Yeah, really good questions. Well, on the first one, look, generally speaking, I think we've got good judges, amongst the most respected in the world, but there's a minority of activists who are basically bringing the whole thing down and damaging public trust to the point where people are saying, are these people actually independent? And we've uncovered some terrible examples. Judges who are on social media commentating on which laws they like, which politicians they like, celebrating when the government loses in court. We found examples of judges who are trustees and activists involved in charities that basically don't believe in borders at all. This is just totally wrong. It's got to end. So what I've said is the judiciary have got to weed these people out. They've got to sack the ones who are clearly activists, and we've got to be much more careful about how we appoint them in the first place. If you've been busy on Twitter, putting your political views out there, you can't be a judge. And you also, I'm sorry. If you want to be a politician, absolutely stand for Parliament.
But I also think it's really important. Again, we seem to have a government that is keen to control different aspects of our lives. I think they should have more of an eye. I mean, this is very personal to me, Michael. I live down on the south coast. There was a story some weeks ago about the migrant who'd been here 4 days, comes out of the hotel, goes on the beach, this is a year ago, sexually assaults a 17-year-old girl whose life is traumatised. When it came to court, I can't even, I'll get into trouble. This judge said, and I quote, it's a mere aberration of character and he's had a really hard upbringing. Yeah. Now, I'm sorry, this guy should not be practising law. Are you going to try and tell me that my daughter's, if it was mine, has been attacked, and the man's... What are you saying to all the people who've come from an even worse upbringing than him, has never done something like that? I think that's madness, and I think the government should remove somebody like that, Robert Jenrick, in a heartbeat.
I agree. I think some of these people are living in a parallel universe, and it's not just the judges. I think politicians, the judges, the media, there are people who are so insulated from this. They're not the ones who've got the asylum hotel opening up next to them. Absolutely. It's not their kids who are having to change their route to school like the ones in Epping are because they're worried about being sexually assaulted. And when people actually raise these issues, they get shot down. They're labelled as being racist or xenophobes. I've had this happen to me in the last few weeks. And it's wrong. The British public are... Their patience is snapped. I'll tell
you what I said the other day. I'd love your response to this, actually. This is me. Somebody sent me a text, Rob, about 6 weeks ago, and he went, there's a difference now, Jez. The silent majority in this country have woken up to the fact that their voice can be heard, and whatever the colour of a government, that's when the government needs to be concerned. And I think that's really important.
I think something has changed in the country. The patience of the public has snapped. It probably snapped a long time ago, and people are starting to fight back now. When I joined the protest in Epping, these people weren't racists or far right.
Mothers and fathers.
Maybe there's like one or two wrong-uns in there, you know, who I don't know. But the people I spoke to were mums. They were grandmothers. They were just local lads who were worried about their siblings. You heard stories like, I heard a mum who said that she was a single mum. She had 3 daughters. One was about to go to uni. She'd come home one night and found some workman's boots on the doorstep. And she said to her daughters, well, whose are these? And the girl who was about to leave home had gone and bought them so that people walking past the house would think that there was a man in the house. And those are just normal people whose lives are being disrupted by illegal migration, and they are not willing to put up with it anymore, and they're quite right to do so.
Real pleasure to have you. You're not going anywhere. We're going to an ad break. We're going to pay your wages. Back in 3.
Everything I'm seeing here says the Maccabee fans were barely involved at all. So nothing you'd see differently, really, from a Birmingham derby or a Manchester derby or whichever teams have a heated rivalry. And yet this, we're seeing videos from 2019 being recycled to try and make it Maccabee's fault. The disinformation around this has been outrageous. And since I spoke about it on Friday in a bunch of national media, I've seen firsthand the bot swarm that descended on my ex is of a level of viciousness that I've never come across before.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk. Ring Rob.
9:22 with our new feature, Ring Rob. Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary. Very honest and straight man, enjoying our conversation this morning. You can call 0344 499 1000. Catherine Fitzgerald, you'll love this. Hi, Robert Jenrick. I am a legal migrant. I own my own home. My children both have master's degrees and good jobs. We are first language English speakers. All of my ancestors are Irish and Scottish. Are we still going to face a harder time becoming British citizens than illegal migrants? Also, why are people who are not British citizens allowed to vote? Catherine in Hampshire.
Oh, very good questions, Catherine. Well, look, thank you, first of all, for your contribution to the UK. I want the UK to be the grammar school of the Western world, where we are open to people who are genuinely going to be economic contributors to our country, and it sounds like you and your family have done just that. It's the low-wage, low-skill people who are a massive drag on hard-working Brits that I'm worried about, and we've unfortunately had millions of those people in recent years, so we've got to have a much more selective immigration system. On the point about voting, personally, I don't think that anyone should be voting unless they're a British citizen. We have historic laws that say that certain other people can vote, like Commonwealth citizens and so on. I think there's a very strong argument that voting should just be the preserve of people who are British citizens, and then we should help as many people as possible to have a path to British citizenship, just like other countries do. In America, they have this attitude that, you know, there's active citizenship. You come to the country, you pay your dues, you work through the system, and then eventually you become a citizen and you have all the rights that come with
you go
that.
back to visas. I worked there for 3 years.
Yeah, that's the way we should have it.
It was a 6-month
Basically,
process.
you shouldn't be claiming benefits, you shouldn't be voting, and you certainly shouldn't be getting social housing unless you're actually a British citizen. That's my view.
OK, JK, tell Robert I'm 76. I voted Conservative all my life. I loved Robert, but cannot understand why he remains at a party who vilified him over his comments re illegals in Birmingham and not supported him. You're too good for the Tory party.
Oh, that's very kind. Well, actually, Kemi and many of my colleagues did support me when I made those comments. And they were proven right, weren't they?
Absolutely.
Literally a week later.
Let's go to Shropshire. Daniel, you're through to Robert Jenrick. Good morning.
Morning. Robert, you and Katie Lamb have been absolutely on fire recently with your, shall we say, controversial things. Now, I don't agree with the term white Britons are set to become a minority because that misdirects the fundamental issue of demographic change that millions are concerned about. The fact of the matter is that indigenous Britons are set to become a minority in their own country. Modern Britons are genetically descended 70 to 80% from Bell Beakers who arrived in Britain 2500 BC. That's a genetic continuity of 4,500 years. So my question to you is this: does Parliament have a sovereign duty to protect and ensure the ethnic and cultural continuity of its indigenous population? And do you believe that the indigenous population have the human right to maintain their majority status in their own country?
God, you wrote that down, didn't you? Robert Jenrick, that's a question at 9:25.
That's a complicated question. Look, it is a debate, though, that's happening right now. Look, is there a kind of British or English ethnic group? Yes, probably there is. It's always hard to define these things accurately, but, you know, people who've lived in this country for many, many generations. What I'm most focused on, though, are people who are culturally English or British, people who really share our culture, who love our history, our language, our norms, who understand and want to have a real sense of national unity and togetherness. You don't necessarily have to have lived in our country for generations to have done that.
No.
Far from it. But what we have to do is ensure everyone who is in this country is part of that, is part of a national shared sense of identity.
Do you know,
we don't want the UK to basically just be a hotel where
and
anyone can come
get
here,
picked up.
they get their visa, they get their passport, but they don't actually buy into our country.
So some nights, if I haven't parked the car or whatever and I go back home to the coast, there's a wonderful guy that picks me up, and he's a Bangladeshi guy, and he's been here 40 years, and his dad brought him and his 3 brothers and his mother, and he still remembers to this day, his dad said to him, we're going to go to Britain, we're very lucky, we're going to respect their traditions, we're going to respect the opportunities, we're going to work hard, we're going to make success, and we're going to respect it.
Absolutely.
And he is more appalled, okay, about illegal migrants coming here and taking the what's it out of us. And I consider him more British probably than you and I.
Yeah,
and that is such an important
absolutely.
example.
I meet those people all the time.
Really important.
What I am sick of is people who live in our country but have no intention of integrating. You know, people who don't speak our language, people who know nothing about our history and our culture, people who fly the flag of Gaza or Pakistan or whatever it is, not the flag of the United Kingdom or the cross of St. George. I want one country under one flag. And yes, that can be a multi-ethnic society. Absolutely it is. It can be a multiracial society. It absolutely is. But it has to have a strong, cohesive sense of national identity. And that's what we're losing at the moment.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much. Let's go to Essex. Amanda, you've got a question for Robert Jenrick. Good morning.
Morning.
Come on, Amanda. Sound a bit happy.
Morning, Amanda.
You're through to Robert Jenrick, woman.
Morning, Robert. Yeah, I've got a question for you. How do you feel about the Conservative leaders of a lot of councils, 5 councils to my count, that are stopping the elections next May?
Yeah. Well, as a general rule, I think elections should go ahead. You know, I don't. It's never a good look to be trying to put off elections. As politicians, we're in that business, aren't we? We've got to face our electorate. You can't hide from them. There are elections scheduled every 4 or 5 years, depending on what you're standing for, and you shouldn't try and avoid that. There's a particular question here, which is when councils are about to be abolished altogether, whether it's worth having elections where those people are going to get elected but maybe only serve for 12 months. Is it worth all the expense and the hassle of doing that, or is it better just to stick with the existing councillors for a little bit longer? And historically, there are times when we've chosen to postpone elections. We did it during COVID, when people couldn't get to the polls.
But people are under this new feeling that we have people
and we've
thinking
we've done it when councils are about to be abolished altogether in the past. But my general sense is we should just go ahead with these elections.
Amanda, thank you. Let me read this to you, because it was always going to come out, because it's my favourite question of the morning, from Trevor. Never hear Keir, should he be going to COP30? And are you going?
I've not been invited.
Good,
to
don't
COP30.
go, despite your green tie. What a joke, then. Can you explain something to me, right? This is my question, right? So, they've destroyed half of the Amazon rainforest to build... This isn't made up, to build a road and networks and pathways. And all these virtue signallers will jump on gas-guzzling jets.
Private jets, probably.
Thank you, yeah, probably, yeah. 2 of them, probably Miliband has done. To land in Brazil, to me it's like the EU, to sit there and pat each other on the back and eat lots of food and drink lots of drink and talk about things that in essence and in common sense terms, and this is me, right, saying this to you, I'm not going to do anything for your energy bills. Total virtue signalling. As Mike Graham once famously said, what happens if we get to net zero? Do you get a medal? Do you stop? Do you do something else? I've absolutely no idea. China and Russia not interested. And in the meantime, Robert Jenrick, whilst these people die on the altar of, greenness, right? We can't afford the interest on the debts we've got in this country.
Totally agree.
I mean, he's absolutely farcical.
These international summits like COP26, which we hosted, and now this one, COP30, they're just disgusting boondoggles, basically. Where overpaid people travel around the world in private jets to hang out with each other and pat each other on the back. There is no prize for the UK being the first country in the world to decarbonise. We're responsible for less than 1% of the world's emissions.
So why are people making decisions that's costing this country billions? Decisions that, frankly, Robert Jenrick, are ludicrously mad.
These are terrible decisions. We're trading a car manufactured in Sunderland for one manufactured in China. We're not extracting gas from the North Sea, our bit of the North Sea, and then we're importing it from the bit that belongs to Norway.
Would you drill if you were Prime Minister?
Absolutely. The sole policy of this country on energy should be cheap and reliable energy. Why? Because I want to have some heavy industry in this country. I don't want to deindustrialise the country. You know, we basically have now, industry only is about 6 or 7% of our GDP, but we don't want to lose what little remains of it, the car industry, the chemical industry, the steel industry. And there's nothing progressive about this. All this means is the bills of hard-working Brits are going up and up and up. We've got the highest energy bills now of any country in the Western world.
Of course we have, because this madcap, let's have wind farms. Somebody said to me that it was brilliant. They went, so if it doesn't blow enough, you have to import it from another country and that's more expensive. And if it blows too much, they have to turn it off and that costs even more and they can't store it. And you look at that from a common sense point of view, Robert, and you go, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know who... It's just virtue signalling.
Yeah, well,
and I think the British public have wised up to it.
Like offshore wind, fine. But it has to stand on its own 2 feet. It can't be just based on subsidies paid for by working people.
Absolutely. We've got AJ in Essex. AJ, you're through to Robert Jenrick. Good morning.
Jeremy, good morning. And good morning, Robert. Great to speak
Good morning.
Again, Jez. I think the lunatics haven't just taken over this island. They've got the keys to the front door as well, Jez. I remember in the 80s, the GB Olympic team went to the Moscow Olympics and sport was overridden over politics. The same thing's happening now, but in the opposite. I rang Kick It Out at the weekend to report racism in sport or in football, and I got no reply. I left the messages. Nobody's got back to me. What a shock. That's Kick It Out. So what I think next time all these players, male or female, take the knee at a football match, I think all supporters in every ground to turn around and do the Man City Poznan.
What's the question to Robert Jenrick?
Well, why can't the away fans go to Villa?
This is the question. How could also from Helen, could the government have done more to ensure the safety of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans at the Aston Villa game? Because it looks like we're just saying you can't come because you're Jewish.
Exactly. That's what's going on here. I mean, how weak is the Prime Minister, by the way?
Oh, I like to go to football. I'll tell you who's weak is Nandi yesterday. Yeah. You're a racist, this is anti-Semitic, this is all wrong. I'll leave it to the police.
They're not bystanders.
No.
He's the friggin' Prime Minister of our country.
I never thought I'd hear a Tory politician say that. I love you forever, Robert. He is the friggin' Prime Minister.
He's the Prime Minister. He tweets saying, oh, I'm disgusted by this. That was 4 or 5 days ago. What have they done?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing in that period of time.
Rob in London, for Rob in London. Why are activist MPs allowed to campaign on foreign issues to get into Parliament? Should this be outlawed and only be allowed for British issues and local causes, Robert Jenrick?
Well, I'm sad that these people are elected. I mean, there was a Labour MP who was campaigning on Mirpur in Pakistan's airport the other day.
Oh yes, this is the MP. No, this is the MP in Birmingham.
Yeah, in Birmingham. Yeah.
Forget the rubbish and the rats. Yeah. I'm over trying to get £3 million so I can build an airport.
He was worried about the runway at a foreign airport. I mean, come on. I am represented to look after 100,000 people in North Nottinghamshire. I should be championing their issues, not some foreign parliament or some foreign... It's complete madness. But this is what happens when you go down this route of sectarian politics. Yep. And that's why we've got to fight against it. And it does come back to this fundamental issue about integration. You cannot have people living in our country who are more focused on issues in another part of the world than they are in our own communities.
I agree, and shouldn't we be able to say if integration isn't working without fear of somebody going, you're racist or you're far right? I agree with you in every entirety on that. Laura, voice note, go.
Robert Jenrick, my question is, boy, is he trying hard to win us back, but it ain't going to work. I am absolutely never going to vote for the Conservatives again, even though I've had 2 prime ministers in my family and they would be rolling in their graves.
2 prime ministers in a family? Why is she leaving a voice note?
That's like a cryptic clue, isn't it? Trying to, like a quiz question.
Can I answer that for you?
Yeah.
This is, and I'm being completely serious, peeps, you know me. I think the Tory party made the wrong decision. At least this man is out here and is speaking candidly and honestly on this once a month and other things. That, for me, is exactly where the Tory party's gone wrong. I absolutely stand by that comment.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, to Laura's point, look, there's a lot of work for the Tory party to do.
Sure.
Because we let people down. We made some very bad mistakes when we were in office. So
she's listening to you, though.
Step 1 is to be honest about what we got wrong. Hopefully, in time, people will see that that's sincere. And then you've got to prove you've changed. That this is a different party to the one that made those mistakes, and we'd never make them again in the future. I hope in time we can persuade people like Laura and the people listening to this programme that we're worthy of their respect.
You're not sitting expecting that to happen. You're doing something about it, which is respect. Final call, Liverpool. Andrew, a very good morning. You're through to Robert Jenrick.
Good morning. Just a thought. Instead of banning Maccabi, how about banning the burqa and halal meat?
Right.
Well, I probably would ban the burqa. I mean,
Can we point out, before it becomes hysterical about the burqa, many European countries have banned
They
that
have.
because the politicians will say that the way that women are treated... So, that's an opinion. Sarah Pochin asked that question and everybody went nuts in the comments.
She did, but then you've also seen Giorgia Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister, say in the last week that this is something that she's going to pursue. So I think there's definitely a strong argument for it. Look, there are basic values in this country and we should stand up and defend them. And where you're seeing them fraying at the edges or frankly being completely destroyed, whether it's Sharia courts or wearing of the burqa, these are issues we're going to have to confront if we want to build the kind of society that we want to hand on to our kids and grandkids.
It's really interesting for me actually because there are subjects that the liberal left, as I call it, would have people not talk about the burqa, immigration. You couldn't say the word immigration 10 years ago. You'd have been called every name under the sun. I do believe that what we said earlier is happening. I do believe that the silent majority are prepared to have those discussions.
Well,
and I think, for me, like, this is why Starmer, after Southport, he went all far right, his militia went on the streets. I don't think it works to look at Epping now and say that.
These labels have been overused.
Absolutely.
They've become meaningless now. And people are not even listening to the mainstream media anymore. I mean, the mainstream media basically tried to cancel me 10 days ago for my comments that there's a failure of integration in Birmingham. It didn't succeed because people just don't see that these people speak for them anymore. The public are sick of this. They want to hear their politicians stand up and articulate the legitimate concerns of millions of people in this country right now. I'm not backing down. I don't think anyone should do either.
We'll finish. Is Newark in your constituency?
It is, yeah.
I'm going to tell you off air something I know about Newark. Robert Jenrick, 5 years ago, I wasn't a fan of Robert. He was too stereotypical Tory boy. However, in the last 12 months, he's changed my opinion dramatically. I do like what I hear and see now. And I have to say, genuinely, first time I've met Robert Jenrick, and you are the first Tory that's come here, faced that and done it. And I personally am allowed to say I think your party made a mistake. It's a real pleasure.
Oh, well, it's been...
is this once a month or once a week?
Well, maybe it should be once a week.
I've got him once a week now. Look, they're going, oh, we can't afford him. Robert Jenrick, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Morning Glory on Talk, 20 to 10.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 19 minutes to 10. This is Morning Glory, JK, till 10 o'clock. Julia Hartley-Brewer will be here from 10 o'clock, sounding as brilliant as ever. Ian Collins from 1 o'clock, and God knows how's doing drive. I'm only joking. Peter Cardwell on drive this afternoon from 4. Don't know why I did that. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. We've done that one. Hello to Yorkshire Gaz. Is that Gaz in Yorkshire or a man who... Never mind. He says, if they take politics out of policing, it will work. It states clearly in policing rules, you're supposed to do it without fear or favour. If they followed their own rules and principles of policing and allowed justice to be impartial, we would all be in a better position. Starmer says, Margaret in Birmingham is not fit for purpose. We, the British people, need a strong, competent leader, and he should resign. He's out of his depth. If our late Queen was still here, I guarantee she'd have had a quiet word. Maybe. Millibrain going to Brazil, where they are destroying the precious rainforest, is hypocrisy on steroids, says Liz. Good. In Norfolk. Daryl's in Blackburn. Morning, Jez. Apparently Nicolas Sarkozy has asked if he can do his prison sentence at the UK jail because he only needs to do 2 of his 5 years. Very interesting. And also, Pete from Boston. Is that Massachusetts or Lincolnshire? Watching your piece on early prison releases, why are the bloody criminals leaving jail in brand new Nike trainers and Adidas tracksuits and new bags? Why do we supply them with labels? They should be in boiler suits and boots. More of my taxpayers' money down the crapper. So angry, don't let them out early, which is very, very relevant because our next guest is Vanessa Frake, Reform UK's Justice Advisor, former prison governor. I love this lady. We have her on because there she is looking up. Look, you're in that position again. Vanessa Frake, look it up. Hello, I'm up here. Vanessa, here I am, yeah. Vanessa, this story today sends people mad. The government, this is the sentencing bill, which is out earlier. Earlier we had Sarah Pochin, in the Commons later rather, we had Sarah Pochin on saying that she's got 10 amendments and questions she's going to ask, because within the confines of this ridiculous sentencing bill, which is going to say, yeah, you've gone to jail 5 years, but you need to do 2, is also that the government is going to allow the early release of thousands of rapists and violence criminals. This is a disgusting look, isn't it, Vanessa Frake?
Oh, look, Jeremy, you know, words fail me. How is this justice? How is this justice for, you know, the survivors and victims of crime? It's just not. You know, I think the terms of reference that were given to David Gauke by this government were to reduce prison numbers, and that's that. To put a Band-Aid on our prison system to reduce the prison numbers instead of updating our prison service, investing in our prison service. And now we see that actually what's going to happen is we are going to have more criminals in our communities. The government has pledged 700 million to the probation service. The probation officers I've spoken to have said that this is a drop in the ocean, will barely make a difference. And I think that people should be concerned.
Do you know what's really interesting? We've spoken many times. I haven't spoken to you since you became Reform's UK Justice Advisor. I'll put it in layperson's terms to you. What this ridiculous sentencing bill is saying is 2 things. If you commit a crime, you'll only have to serve 30%. And at the end of the day, the idea of this government is we'll create space by getting rid of people. So I know a lot of this you'll agree with, but to me, Vanessa, it's really simple. If you commit a crime that is for 10 years or 5 years as the punishment for the crime, I think that you should go the other way and people should serve the absolute sentence they are handed down. And as for prison space, we can talk about foreign criminals, very important. But why in the name of sweet Jesus is our Prime Minister rushing off to a Brazilian rainforest to sign deals worth billions of pounds? We should be building more prisons and making people serve the sentences they are given for the crimes they committed. We should train our prison service officers to a degree where they feel safe and good in that career. It's not rocket science. We spend millions on housing illegal migrants and nothing on prisoners who break our laws. It's madness, Vanessa.
Absolutely, Jeremy. You know, I'm with you 100%. I think that how our prison service has ended up like this is years and years of abuse, quite frankly. You know, politician after politician, Home Secretaries, Justice Ministers have all buried their head in the sands. And we've got to the position now where at the moment, I think the prison population is around about 87,000 in Wales and England, plus another 8,000 in Scotland. And I think that the projection for next year, something like 96,000, but that's only a guesstimate. And I think that this government is just laughing with criminals as to how much they can get away with. And I think it's abhorrent. It's not what the prison service is about. It is about justice for victims. It is about retribution. It's certainly not about the victims with this David Gauke report.
I'm not sure about Gauke. I mean, he's one of those wet toys. The problem is we all want a prison service that you know, actively encourages rehabilitation. And I've heard the arguments, oh, you know, this isn't going to work if you're put in prison and you've got no incentive. Your incentive should be to turn your life around, say sorry to society for the crime you've committed and start afresh. I don't think we should be pandering. I've never thought we should be pandering. I mean, under that sentencing bill, Sarah Pochin was telling me earlier, I think at the moment you get 12 months for if you're in possession of a knife. I could be totally wrong, so don't quote me. Under this rule, yeah, by the time your court case comes, you wouldn't go to jail, so you can carry a knife and you're not going to prison. What message does that send? It doesn't send any message at all to me, and I think we need to be we need to be tougher. We need to spend less time worrying about hurty words, and we should be talking about things that make sense to a country that's fed up of this rubbish. That's how I see it anyway, mate.
I agree with you. You know, to me, the world's gone mad. It's just completely turned on its head. In this country, you know, your prison service should do that, a service to victims of crime. And at the moment, it does very little, either in rehabilitation or indeed with the 30% now of sentences of locking people up. And you know, it's laughable, really. When we've got 10,777 foreign nationals in prison at the moment, the government will say over the last 12 months we've got rid of 4,800, but they haven't stopped the flow of foreign nationals coming into this country and committing crime.
The way to stop foreign criminals, Keir Starmer, you numpty, is to stop people unvetted coming into this country. And whilst you run around trying to make agreements, just send these people back to their countries. Oh, no, it's not right. Their human rights won't allow them to... Sod that. Sod that. We need the space. Vanessa, you know we're on the same page, mate. It's so great to have you on, doing a great job as Reform's UK Justice Advisor, and loving, as ever, the way she stares right up at the camera. Can we just have her back very quickly to say goodbye? She stares up at the camera. Well, I've got the front door of a prison there. I want Vanessa Frake. There you are. Thank you so much for coming on. All right. Take care. Vanessa Frake, Reform UK's Justice Advisor, former prison governor. What is it? It's 10 to 10. Where's the time gone? I'm all over the shop. Julia Hartley-Brewer very soon on Talk. I nearly said Drive, but it's actually Morning Glory. Cheers.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7 minutes to 10. Morning Glory for literally 7 more minutes because we finish at 10. That'll make sense. Julia Hartley-Brewer will be amazing as ever here from 10 o'clock. From 1 o'clock, Ian Collins and Pierre Cardwell on Drive, taking you home on the home of common sense and free speech. What is it? We've got a couple of voice notes. Jane on Ring Rob, our new feature, by the way. Ring Rob Jenrick. Ring Rob, you see what we did? Once a month. Thought he was great. Jane, go.
Morning, Jezza. Yeah, Robert Jenrick, he's so transparent. He wants to be leader of the party. He's a Tory. He was a Tory MP while all this shady nonsense was going on under Boris and the other one, Sunak. Yeah, we see you, Rob. We're not buying it. Yeah, no, thank you.
We see you, Robert. We're not buying it. Kelvin on Ring Rob. It's gone mad. Kelvin.
Morning, Jeremy. I know this is a phone-in normally, but just a quick one for Robert. He's just said about the low-skilled migrants being a drain on the country. You know, yeah, it is in a way, but the problem is you've got companies that want these jobs doing, but they don't want to pay a lot of money for them to do it. So people get the crap jobs, if you like, with the crap pay. That's not their fault, you know. It's the same with British people. We get the crap jobs. I've had it all my life. Get the crap jobs because nobody else wants to do it, and it's a dirty job. It's a bad job, but somebody has to do them. So maybe look into getting them wages put up. Bye.
Thank you, Kelvin. Phone lines, Milton Keynes. Very nice place. Lots of roundabouts. Jane, you've got 1 minute on Morning Glory. What you got?
Hello, good morning. I've just got to tell you, my friend is from Southern Ireland and she goes back there regularly, and she says the amount of immigrants and illegal immigrants that are living there now, and they're all getting Irish passports so that they can get free reign to come to UK without a problem. So they just come over on their Irish passport.
Listen, I think, unfortunately, I mean, you've rung for him. He's not here anymore, so it's Ring Rob / Jezza will do it for him. Honestly, am I being paid enough? There is no doubt, it would be very fair to say, Jane, that there are problems with our immigration service almost in every which way. And I don't know, whatever party is in power, somebody needs to have the courage to make decisions that probably won't be popular to everybody to get this ridiculous situation under control. And I've talked about immigration massively. The number one reason that it is where it is because the problems with immigration mean our social services and public services are stretched to the hilt. And this is where, and I used it before and they don't like it, the indigenous population who have paid their stamp for years are going to go, hold on a minute, I've done my bit and I can't see a doctor, I can't see a dentist, I can't get this and I can't get that. And I was very quiet whilst things were good, but it's tight now and it's unfair. Thank you for your call. Let's go to Southampton. Paul, you've literally got 1 minute. What you got, kidder?
Hello, Jezza. For Rob Jenrick next time, 14 years of Tory rule, why didn't they have investigations and inquiries into these rape gangs?
Completely agree with you. Completely agree. Should have said that. Mad morning. When this grooming gangs inquiry came out and Labour today in the papers accused of sort of kicking the can down the road, you can quote me on this. I said it 3 times on the show. It's not just Starmer. It has been an institutional bloody cover-up for years, and it's a disgrace, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say 20 years plus, and I think this goes up into the Lords because, is it Simon Danzig was warned off by a Labour peer many years ago?
Yes.
This has got to be investigated. And Jess Phillips' crocodile tears, mate. I know you buy them, but I certainly don't.
I don't buy her tears. Thank you very much, Steve, for your call. Darryl, Robert Jenrick is another Liberal. He said when asked about the burqa, would he ban it? He said he probably would. He should have said yes. And when questions on the different faiths trying to fit in, he smudged the question by not saying he would put the English people first. He must say things that mean that the English people come first. Darryl, thank you. Thank you, Jez, says I. What? I? Talking common sense, really. Ian, Jeremy, when are these politicians going to acknowledge that the country's demographic affects what they can promise, like banning the burqa, like banning banning MPs standing on foreign tickets. They know this will affect the votes, which means migration has and is killing our democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 2 minutes to 10, and she's deigned us with her presence. Good morning,
Hello,
Julia.
very, very good morning to you. How are you?
I'm all right, love. How are you?
Enjoying the early rise?
Oh, you know me. I put 4, 2 bickies, starving. I see Ted starting.
I don't miss it. I don't miss it. I
miss-
love the beverage.
I
I don't
miss
miss it.
I miss you.
Anyway.
Honestly, what a day. I was doing drive time yesterday,
Yeah.
and Cop 30, he's off again to Cop 30, idiot.
Well,
the grooming gang thing. This is
The
mad.
grooming gangs, non-crime hate incidents, those are the two stories for me that absolutely
Yep.
dominate today. I mean, Prince Andrew as well. Like, why aren't you paying a proper rent? Where do you get all your money from? But the grooming gang
Oh, no,
scandal
that's-
is such... Trying to water this down, they have no shame. They have no shame. And the non-crime hate incidents, I don't believe for a moment they're going to disappear just
The
yet.
grooming gang inquiry thing, for me, I just said it to that caller,
Yeah.
this has been going on for years. You've
Yeah.
got a daughter, I've got daughters.
Mhm.
It is an absolute stain on institutions,
Yeah, but here's the
politicians.
thing. If it happened to kids like our daughters, they would have done something about it. It's these people
No,
deliberately...
I'd have done something about it.
I mean,
And so would you,
I'm
mate.
just saying, I'm always happy to build a bigger patio.